And now we're at the part of the video where I begin to get a little bit cranky. Actually, we're not done with Omnia and Kai because the drama is ever spiraling, just like my spine as I hunch over the computer and
jack shit. It means nothing and
no, I think you're mad for this. Carry on, damned if you do, damned if you don't,
Avrona is
you
one
are
that
never
I'll
going
be
to
covering
give
in my
you
update
section
now.
so we can't normalize the lack of evidence when making claims like this. Now I'm mad.
I have just made
madder, at least. So, yeah. Take care of yourselves, my guys, and hope you don't hate me.
Hi, welcome back to the trash can that is my home. The rent is absurd and the rats are always using the only parking spot and won't move their car when I ask, but it's home. And, well, I'm actually glad that we came back to this topic a bit later than what I was expecting. A few things have happened since we last spoke. Notably, Peaches has removed her original response video and updated a community post about it, stating that she'll be taking time to collect herself and respond properly. That's the best course of action I could have recommended, to be honest. However, I still have access to her original video and I think it's important to go over it as I originally intended, so I'll still be talking about Peaches in this video. That aside, we also have to do some quick house cleaning to mention things that I missed in my first video. Namely, Omnia's use of Peach's grooming experience thumbnail in her second video. I completely missed this on the first go around, as smooth brain, we've been over this. I was rushing to make sure that I covered the second video as it came out after my original script was done, and I guess I just went blind for a second there or something. So yeah, this thumbnail makes me uncomfortable. Due to the nature of Peach's grooming story, it felt a little gross to use it in a call-out video against her. I actually made my feelings about this known on a tweet thread from Omnia and Harley. I'll put that somewhere on the screen for you guys. And I don't think the argument of someone else did it really applies here, especially not when that person has already gotten Peach's stamp of approval. My offer to Omnia still stands. I'd gladly supply an alternative thumbnail for you. I just don't think it's good form to use this particular one. Anyway, I just wanted to address that right off the bat, and moving on. And lastly, and something actually quite important to me, I wanted to commend you guys. I was hesitant to get involved in these kind of things because I know I'm bound to make mistakes and the commentary space is a very critical area, as it rightly should be, but it can also be a very incendiary place and I was concerned about how the comments might fare. But damn, you guys came in clutch with the civil and thoughtful conversation. I spent a bit of time chatting with you all down there, and even when we didn't agree in places, everyone was perfectly lovely, and I'm genuinely stupidly thankful for how willing everyone was to engage with me and others on these discussions. Alright, my gushing aside, let's get back to the pain train that was this drama. We're not out of the woods yet. Not out of the woods? No. But in the home stretch now with people that make up my "you gave me at least one migraine" list. Now, Hotbox was the person that first drew my attention to Avrona, who I've been holding off on talking about until now. But he's also next on the list, so I guess I have no choice but to engage with this point against Peaches. So, as this part of the story goes, Avrona was the victim of a storytime video made about Hopeless Peaches called Craziest Small YouTuber, or something to that effect. And I'm sorry, Kai, but you are going to make a quick reappearance in this video, just for a little bit. Just a short one.
Peaches, you can't exaggerate a story about somebody else for comedy, especially if the person you're exaggerating isn't laughing with you. That's where Avrona's problem lies. You also can't call him things like the craziest small YouTuber when the guy is anything but crazy, and also doesn't appreciate you calling him that. If you didn't think he's a bad guy, then maybe not title your video this. Not only that, but despite making it a point to not mention his name in your video, you still put his name in the tags, as well as Big Joel's name, meaning anyone can find out who this video is about if they look hard enough, including me.
Kai mentioned in his video that this title was out of line, and that is one of the most bizarre claims I think I've ever heard about Peaches. Hyperbole and eye-catching titles are the norm on YouTube, and to pretend that it's a moral failing on Peaches' part in some way to title the video as such is just reaching. Like so much of this seems to be once we move past Camilla and Creepshow's stories. This is a dense argument and I won't be holding it against Peaches. As for the content of this storytime itself, well, it's a video that suffered from having absolutely no supporting evidence and a bunch of exaggerated, hyperbolic claims made by Peaches. This is all true and I do not dispute it. Where I begin to get prickly again is on the topic of tags. When I first watched Avrona's response to Peach's video, I thought her inclusion of the name in the tags was a solid point against her. Why keep his name out of it if you were just going to put it in along with Big Joel in the tags? How does that protect a smaller creator? But I only thought that way because I hadn't actually watched Peach's video at the time, and I only had Avrona's word to go off. Then when I did sit down to watch Peach's video on it, well, she wasn't trying to protect Avrona, not at all.
Seriously, I can't even name the big YouTuber that did this, because if I name the big YouTuber, you'll find out who Andy is, and I'm not dealing with that. I don't want to give him fame.
The only reason that Peaches didn't name drop Avrona was because she didn't want him to benefit from her video. Alright, well, I could still see the argument being made that it was nasty for her to make a video on a smaller creator. But then I watched Big Joel's video, and besides generally just really enjoying it, I realized that this was also a stupid take. Avrona was thrilled when Big Joel made a video about him, naming him and criticizing him for the exact same behaviors that Peaches did, albeit in a more constructive, deep dive style. But somehow, Peach's video was out of line. Well, that just didn't track with me. So I watched some more of Avrona's videos, specifically any that had to do with drama, Peaches and Big Joel included, and I realized something pretty quickly. Oh, Peaches was spot on about this guy. I'm sorry, but she was! And despite her claims being dramatized for entertainment, they still fell in line with what everyone else had to say about Avrona and what the screenshots of his behavior in a Discord group and forums displayed. You see all this? You see these mountains of screenshots I have scrolling around here? Yeah, those are all from a cursory glance at Avrona's Reddit, where people have compiled whole lists documenting all the times he's asked the same questions and rebutted 90% of the critique and advice he gets. There's whole accounts dedicated to just responding to people that leave well-meaning comments on his threads to let him know how pointless that is. Personally, I consider these accounts to be a step too far, but the mere fact that they exist for a guy with under 5,000 subs is mind-boggling. Just look at this! This isn't even half of the conversations, and if you pause this video to read, you're going to see a whole lot of algorithm blaming, claims that no one has any idea why his channel isn't growing, and insistence that he's already doing everything he could possibly do. It's honestly, it's a lot. It's just a lot. I bring all of this up as context to what Peaches is talking about, establishing a pattern of behavior for Avrona, just as we've established a bad behavioral pattern in Peaches. And to break it down for you, the pattern goes like this. Avrona asks, "What can I do to X, Y, or Z?" Someone replies, "Well, have you tried this?" Avrona then responds that either he's been doing that for years and cannot improve, that it doesn't matter to the algorithm and is otherwise useless to him, or he asks why. If he asks why, they will answer, "Well, because of X, Y, Z." And then he asks, "Why?" They answer, "Well, because of X, Y, Z." And then he asks, "Why? And why? And why? And why?" And can you feel my sanity thinning? Can you feel my patience spooling out as the thread is lost to the twisting, curling abyss that is this entire Reddit page? Can you see why maybe, just maybe, this man inspires a deeply ingrained rage-filled obsession that causes people to make video after video on him when, until this nightmare, he had no more than 2,000 subscribers? Can you see Cthulhu banging at the gates demanding to know why the algorithm is so unknowable as we descend further into this wasteland that is this entire unraveling nightscape that we edge ever closer to? Forgive me, got a touch of the Lovecraft for a second there. Fuck. Oh my god, fuck. Look, what I mean to say is that it's not hard to understand why Peaches might have been irritated enough by her experience with Avrona to make a video on him. She was not the first, and likely won't be the last. Case in point, here I am, doing that same thing. If you want a deeper dive into this mess, there's Big Joel's video as well as a cluster of smaller creators lamenting Avrona's behavior long before Peaches arrived on the scene. A reminder that if I show someone's video or image in here, I'll have their links to the channels in the description below. Yes, including Avrona. But because the Avrona rabbit hole is almost as mind-numbingly aggravating as Toby's, I'm gonna try and focus solely on his video responses to Peaches. Just keep in mind all of this as we go forward. So here's what I gather from the situation. Peaches is being criticized for telling this story without evidence, despite having her testimony being backed up by other, more credible voices and existing screenshots. Well, gee, can't imagine where I've seen that exact same situation in this exact same drama. Now, can she be criticized for being hyperbolic with a story about someone that could be tracked down? Yes, sure. Welcome to Story Times, have at it. I won't begrudge you for making that critique. So let's, as briefly as possible, go over Avrona's points as best we can. I honestly cannot muster up the strength of will to spend too much time on him, as it all seems so inane and pointless. Avrona is more or less one of those things that seems to just get tacked onto Peaches because she's already being buried alive by other more valid claims. So despite how painful this is going to be, let's slug through it and take a look at his first video.
Okay, so I know that this video by a Joe called Hopeless Peaches about me came out quite a few weeks ago now. However, there have been quite a few things relating to this whole situation that I kind of wanted to, think about first before making a video, and like how I wanted to address them in the video. And the main thing that kind of happened is that I actually met Peaches in person at VidCon London a few weeks ago. And that was very interesting, and especially the timing, seeing how it was maybe like, what, a week or so after she uploaded that video. And so it was very interesting, and I kind of wished we kind of used the opportunity to maybe, talk things over, and maybe try to, convince her that I'm not that I'm not a troll, which is what she believes no matter what, for whatever reason. But I don't know, I feel like we're both just a bit too awkward. At least I was. She said I looked scared, so I don't know, maybe I was just being really awkward, but yeah. Maybe this video will be the thing we need to maybe talk things over, and maybe soon we'll get to some agreement that I'm not actually an awful person.
His point about meeting at VidCon makes sense, honestly. They probably should have talked it out if he wanted to, but pinning this all on Peaches is a little bit unfair. He could have just as easily brought it up to her as she could have to him, and given that Peaches has already expressed she's a bit awkward in person with these sort of things and not conflict-driven, regardless of if you believe her or not, it makes perfect sense that she wouldn't actually engage with this conversation with him rather than just make some small talk and bail. Am I saying she's right for doing that? Probably not. It would have been respectable had she brought it up to him, but she's also not obligated to talk to someone that she doesn't like. This is a draw, no one gets a point for this particular situation.
There's this one guy who I will call Andy, and he just really tries really hard to be insane. I swear to God. I honestly believe that everything he does is just trolling.
Actually, no, I don't. The thing I try is to, get advice from people. That's what I kind of, ask for advice. That's kind of the whole point of asking for advice, It's ironic that no matter what, no matter how much evidence to the contrary there is, you somehow cannot see me as like anything other than a troll, even going as far as to banning me from a Discord you're mod on, because I was a troll, despite me literally not being a troll and not doing anything that's trolling. And the best thing is when I asked for any evidence of the supposed trolling, she refused to give it. So maybe I thought that in this video she would provide some kind of evidence or context or just info on whatever she's talking about right now, because to me she seemed like a crazy one talking about me being a troll out of nowhere. But nope, I was disappointed to find out that there is no evidence in this video. Well, there is, but it's all lies. So it's, very interesting how she first banned me for being a troll and just labels me as being a troll, while then, refusing to give any evidence. Almost like that's not the case,
Now, if you're watching this video, you must know how happy I am to see screenshots after the last video, but by that same token, if you're here, you might also be able to guess why I don't like these screenshots. Take a moment to actually read what I have on screen while I break down what he has selected for us.
I am not doing it internally nor trolling though. Not sure what makes you think that, but isn't it rather unfair to get potentially banned because of just getting that wrong about me?
Then prove to me you aren't a troll. This is your last warning.
What makes you think I did troll in the first place?
Being shallow to unbelievable standards to fight people.
Where exactly though? None of those were ever any of my goals, even slightly. If there's anything I've said that you've mistaken for trolling, please show me what, so I can phrase myself differently in the future.
It's been all you do. Please don't argue on this.
I'm not. Just trying to find what exactly you mistook for trolling, so I know what not to say again, or what I should rephrase in the future.
Your lack of care for YT.
I can guarantee you I don't lack care for it, even if that's not really against the rules though. Hopefully, I can somehow prove I do in the coming days. Not sure how I can do it more than I already am, but I'll try.
If you have any issues, you can speak to DW Relive.
Here, Avrona shows us the moment where in a Discord that Peaches was modding for, he was warned about troll behaviour that may lead him to getting banned. He asked for evidence of this claim, which on the face of it seems fair enough. But let me for a moment ask you all to remember a time in your life where you've called someone out for something and their response is, "Name one time I have ever done that." You know that feeling? That visceral feeling of annoyance? Yeah, that's what I get from this. Let me be 1000% transparent here and say that's my guttural reaction to seeing these screenshots after having gone through so many pages of Avrona asking why, and Cthulhu's back at the gate, let's not let him in, we're not doing that again. If you're being warned by a mod in a Discord to stop some sort of behavior, it's alright for you to ask what you've done. But even in this screenshot, Peaches states that this was his last warning, which leads me to believe he's been warned before. And given what we're going to see and have already seen of Avrona's behavior, yeah, I think most of us would have given him the boot by now. Also, I'd like to note how selective his screenshots are, failing to show any of the context of the conversation or what may have prompted this warning from Peaches. Side note, he only puts these screenshots on screen for a couple of seconds each, and I am seething.
This guy, who I'll call Andy,
Now at that point you may be thinking, well, how do you know she's talking about you, right?
he does like tech reviews and, you know, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's it's really obvious, and people in the comments get it, so...
He comes in, like, all the time and asks for advice, or he did. He did, past tense.
Yeah, because someone just happened to ban me for one of Discord for no reason.
Let's just ignore the fact that her saying it's someone doing tech reviews doesn't inherently mean it's Avrona, as he's hardly the first and only person in the world to be doing that. Regardless of if you agree with your banning, you've already told us what the reason for the banning was, so it wasn't for no reason.
He would come in and ask questions about, you know, YouTube, the algorithm, like what he should be doing to improve himself. And I'm just like, cool, I'll come and help. I'll come and talk to you. But the bad thing is that he'd be like, okay, here's an example. Alright, I can't think of any on top of my head.
This just sounds like a creative way of saying, yeah, these aren't fully true, just believe me. And I love that she included this line, because literally none of her examples she lists are nowhere near close to the truth. And the best part about it is that it's all in a public Discord with people from that Discord coming over to your video. Like, you don't think they will be able to, you know, just scroll up and see it's all lies? Like, what was the thought process for this?
So he comes in and, like, for example, he'll come into the server and goes,
Hey, I want to ask about, my intro. Like, how can I improve my intro?
well, I don't know, maybe you can make your intro, like, maybe a little bit shorter.
No, because I've been doing it like that for ages and I am perfect.
Yep, we didn't get too far in and already that's literally nothing that happened. Like, I have no idea what you even talk about with an intro. Like, I never even mentioned anything about intro. I did talk about, you know, trying to, like, shorten down what I say at the start of my videos, just to kind of get to the point quicker. But that's really it, so that's literally not true. And again, seeing how a lot of the people who watch this video are people from the Discord, they are literally able to see it's not true. And does she just think she can hide behind the excuse of, oh, I can't remember any off the top of my head? Like, what?
This is what we call an example of behavior. Here, Avrona complains that Peaches is making up a scene where he asked for help on an intro. But Peaches was not saying that this happened, she was using it as an example of how Avrona responds to people providing critique or suggestions, not representing an exact conversation. This is one of the early instances of Avrona refusing to address the actual point being made, that being his behavior as the issue, and hyper-focusing on something of a strawman. Just like how Peach's profile of being a snake is important to the situation, Avrona's pattern of behavior is what's being spoken about here, and let me tell you kids, I am already sick of it.
And I just turn around and just go, guy, dude, my boy, just do what you want to do. Just be yourself. Have fun. Then you'll grow at best of both worlds. And he just turns around just really abruptly, just like,
What does fun have to do with the YouTube algorithm?
what? Seriously, what?
I mean, yeah, what does it have to do with it? The YouTube algorithm can't read minds. It can't tell if you're having fun while making videos or not. And it's kind of relating to the video that, what's her name? I'm not a gamer girl, I'm not a girl gamer, one or two, I think it's I'm not a girl gamer. I think I actually said it wrong in my original video. So it's a very similar argument to that, and it's like, again, what's the big deal? Otherwise, just like even trying to convince people to do YouTube for certain reasons or whatever, is very, like, it's almost like a form of gatekeeping.
Once again, Avrona seems to either adamantly refuse or be simply incapable of comprehending and engaging with the actual point. Peaches is making a moral argument of sorts here, and Avrona is trying to make a logical one. Peaches is saying that she thinks Avrona's priorities are trash, not that the algorithm cares about if you're having fun or not. It is a statement about the differences in work ethic and values. Moreover, it's often argued that when you enjoy what you do, the audience can tell and will be drawn to you. In theory, if you enjoy the content you're making, it's easier, your passion comes through in earnest, and the audience will identify with you, hence boosting the algorithm. This is why people keep giving him this suggestion, not just here but on Reddit, and his staunch refusal to even consider the validity of this advice is agonizing. I want to believe Avrona is not dense enough to have missed this, but that would just make him a dishonest responder, so take your pick, I guess. Anyway, he moves on to talking about YouTube gatekeeping here, which is the impression that he gets from the situation.
And speaking of gatekeeping, it gets very interesting in her case, because she said that she would personally help my channel grow if I just told her why I wanted to do YouTube and why I'm a YouTuber, why do I do this? And then when I actually told her, she just said, "No, that's a horrible reason. I'm not gonna help you."
Okay, because he didn't let those screenshots linger long enough to sink in, allow me to explain to you why this is flat out bullshit.
Oh, okay, I just noticed it, as I wanted to ask you a few questions on the things you said, so I wanted to go back to look at what you said exactly. I'm also curious to what were your overall thoughts to my answer to why I do YouTube, seeing how badly you wanted from it, and it's something we didn't really discuss after the fact. Plus, you did say if I gave a legit answer, you'd personally help me grow. Wink.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like a good reason. That is horrible.
Question mark?
That means your entire reason for YouTube is shallow, so no, I'm not helping you.
How is it?
Avrona claims that Peaches said she would help him if he just told her why he did YouTube and then backed out on the agreement. However, the screenshots he shows here immediately disprove that notion in his own damn words. Avrona says, and I heckin' quote, "You did say if I gave you a legit answer, you'd personally help me grow, winky face." The deal was not that Avrona just needed to tell Peaches his reason for doing YouTube, the offer came with a condition. Let me emphasize this, the condition, and the only condition to Peaches providing help for Avrona, was a legitimate reason for doing YouTube, something which only Peaches could decide. There is no universal, defining correct reason for doing YouTube, only subjective reasons. To Avrona, his answer was likely perfectly legitimate. But it didn't matter what he thought was legit because it was all up to if Peaches thought it was, because she was the one making the judgment call. So no, she didn't back out of an agreement. You failed to meet the only prerequisite of that agreement. She offered to help on the condition you provide a valid reason for doing YouTube. You gave whatever reason you gave, which I can't help to notice you neglected to share with us, by the way, as you continue to be very selective about your tiny snippets of screenshots. She then deemed your reason invalid as the party that was in the position to make that judgment call. Then, quite within her rights, refused to help you. She broke no agreement, she did not lie, it was not gatekeeping, you were not entitled to her help, so shut the hell up with that. Let me just note that I'm skipping a big chunk of this video. It's a lot of repetition of Peaches being hyperbolic, Avrona taking it literally, and me getting a goddamn migraine. You can watch the video if you like. As usual, I'll be linking to everyone's channels below, so if you want to sit through all of this, by all means, go right ahead. I'm not paying for the aspirin you'll need by the end.
He would come in and ask about paying like hundreds on software, you know, for editing.
Yep, Headphone Pro, currently using it. Great software. Just like I said plenty of times, I'm fine investing plenty of money into my channel. Because why shouldn't I? You know, yes, maybe just throwing money into it won't make it grow, but nothing else has been really helping for now, so I may at least try these things. And I've invested far too much in it to stop investing now at this point. It's been, you know, after 6.5 years of doing whatever you can to make it grow, you know, you do kind of have to go for drastic measures, like, you know, spending a lot of money.
But besides that, I'm pretty much spending no money. But this guy's just like, no, I need the best.
What's the point here? Because it kind of make it sound like me wanting to improve my videos is almost bad at this point. Like, I'm genuinely confused. What are you trying to say?
Here's the point, Avrona. Let me spell it out for you because it looks like the algorithm in your head just isn't adding up either. Peaches is pointing out that you're focusing on superficial things like expensive items without fixing the core problem of your content. In essence, both Peaches and Avrona are on different wavelengths here, if we're giving Avrona the benefit of the doubt that he's not malicious as he continuously fails to understand the point. Peaches is still on the ethics side of the conversation, trying to point out that expensive external changes are not the issues that Avrona is facing. There is the usual implication that he is shallow and doing YouTube in a very unethical way, in Peaches' opinion. She's saying that your priorities are skewered, that is what she is talking about, not that you should continue to pump out poorly made content.
The worst bit is, though, like, seriously, I can't even name the big YouTuber that did this, because if I name the big YouTuber, you'll find out who Andy is, and I'm not dealing with that. I don't want to give him fame.
So this is where things get hilarious, and this is the big review I was alluding to earlier. So I probably figured out she's talking about Big Joel, and the hilarious part is that she actually included both me and Big Joel in her tags for the video, which means that anyone with any tag viewer will just see them right there next to the video. And because she put me in tags, actually had people finding the video just by searching me into YouTube and telling me, hey, have you seen this video about you? Because they discovered it just through search. So congratulations on that one, I guess. And like I said earlier, she just really doesn't want to give me any fame from this video or whatever for whatever reason, even though she did slip my channel's name into there. Plus, what's also interesting is that she then tries to almost backpedal on it, because in the comments, she said that the reason is because she wants to give me a chance or whatever. Also, giving me a chance to change or whatever will be kind of hard if you just cannot accept the fact that I'm not a troll and just cannot live with any other reality.
Yes, she's upset that your channel grew. She thinks that you're a bad YouTuber and that those subs were undeserved and will fuel you to continue being bad. Of course she's not happy Joel's video made you grow. That's not a crime and it doesn't make her a scummy person. I feel like in commentary this is becoming a rather pervasive issue. People aren't perfect. People don't like everyone they meet, and people aren't going to blow sunshine and rainbows up your ass all hours of the day. Sometimes, someone just gives you bad vibes, and it's not a reflection of poor character to dislike them or to have a negative opinion about them. Y'all can dislike me. I get it, it's very easy to hate my guts, but I'm not gonna label someone a bad person just because they don't like me. Besides, wouldn't anyone get upset or annoyed if someone they thought was doing YouTube for all the wrong reasons, as it was shown Peaches did believe, was suddenly growing because they got attention from a larger YouTuber? I think most people would, and that's not a horribly nasty thing to think. With that said, yes, Peaches did later say she'd like to give him a chance to grow, and do I think that's genuine? No. Not really. I think her original statement about not wanting to give him clout was the true reason for leaving his name out of the title. And her trying to beautify it with said sunshine and rainbows later rings hollow. But this isn't the Peaches section, so moving on for now.
He annoyed a big YouTuber enough.
Have you seen Big Joel's video? I mean, you clearly have if you've commented on it, but how on earth can you think that it's because I annoyed him? Watch the video, it's clear that it wasn't made because I annoyed Big Joel. What is the what? And again, is it just that she tries to make me sound like this awful person and kind of using the excuse of, you know, not being named as some kind of, as a way of doing it? Like, because it's literally none of what you said so far is true.
I don't know. I watched Big Joel's video and yeah, you seemed pretty annoying in that video. But whatever, maybe Big Joel made it because he felt bad about you, I don't know.
Because I go into the server and what's going on? This guy Andy, he's like,
Guys, guess what? I am doing things right because a big YouTuber spoke about me. Like, yes, he was slating me, but it doesn't matter because I got them sick views, man. I got those 6 subscribers, dude.
Okay. Again, didn't happen. If I actually thought that, if I actually said that, then why would I be, you know, still asking for so much advice in the first place? If I was, you know, getting subscribers at an extremely healthy rate, and if that breakthrough with Big Joel was the thing my channel needed, then why would we still be here? Did she just not think about these things while making the video?
My guy, I've watched your Big Joel videos, do not even try that. Peaches says you were gloating about your breakthrough with Big Joel's video, and somehow you think the fact you're still asking for advice on how to grow larger negates that? Are any of us even having the same conversation anymore?
So that's why I just find it really annoying when, you know, people... It seemed like he was purposely doing this at this point.
Yes, I was purposefully asking for advice. I know I'm such a criminal.
He would actually insult people who made videos on him that didn't name him.
No. So this is relating to the final straw. The thing that got me banned from the server was not insulting someone. No, the straw that finally broke the camel's back was me talking about that video made about me by another girl gamer and just saying how things are factually not true. The people who like believing it. And again, that is all in a public Discord. So again, they can just see how that's not true. Sadly, I can't give real any evidence for that one, seeing how I'm banned. So if she states that a fact, why doesn't she give us some evidence then, huh?
Prove it. No, really. Prove what she's talking about in any way here. Why don't you have any supporting evidence for the reason you got banned? You're just as bad as Peaches, except her lacking evidence could be claimed to be trying to avoid naming you. You've proven you can show evidence, even if it doesn't actually help you, when you feel like it. So where's the proof here? You say it's because you were banned? Okay, where did the earlier screenshots come from? Did you just not screenshot anything else? You just didn't feel the need to get us any other context before you were banned? I'd also like to note that, yeah, you keep saying this was a public Discord server, yet I haven't seen any evidence to support you. At all. Again, let me slide in here and say that, yeah, Peaches is offering us absolutely nothing in her video, not even a flash of a screenshot. You can chalk that up to her wanting to keep Avrona's name out of her mouth to avoid him getting subs, but I still think it's a fair thing to point out when she's making claims like this. But, personally, showing selective screenshots like Avrona is doing here is something I find to be more questionable than not showing any at all.
Didn't name him.
The video by another girl gamer mentioned my channel's name several times. It's even literally there in the title. What are you on about? And that's even more public info than what's on a Discord channel, so that's even harder of a thing to hide, so why would you even say that? Why is everything here wrong?
No, you don't get to do that. Peaches never named I'm Not a Girl Gamer or her video. She also never stated that she was talking about the incident that caused you to be banned, just the behavior you exhibited while on the server. You brought those things up. You don't get to say she's making a claim about I'm Not a Girl Gamer when she never did, just so you can attempt to disprove it. And we're leaving that point there.
Even though they were critiquing him and giving him proper advice.
Yeah, so much proper advice. If it was so proper, then why would I make such a long video talking about how it's all wrong, huh?
Do I even need to explain why this is dumb? Just because you make a video arguing against someone else's advice or critique doesn't magically make you right. Just because you continuously say something is wrong or that it's lies doesn't make it so. This also has next to nothing to do with Peaches. You just sound a wee bit bitter, my lad. Allow me to quote you from 3 seconds ago.
Why is everything here wrong?
Yeah, I just wanted to make this video to more so show what not to do if you're a small YouTuber, you know? Because my advice...
Like make a video about another YouTuber that's filled nothing with lies? Yeah, that'll be my advice to you from all of this. And the worst part is that, like, with all kind of these slander videos about me, people take the bait, and people just start thinking I'm this horrible person based on nothing but lies, like in this video, and you can clearly see in the comments, people are falling for it. And that's the terrifying part. And then apparently me trying to defend myself from this slander and misinformation, like in the case of the I'm Not a Girl Gamer video, is apparently reason enough for me to get banned off a server for defending myself and for trying to clean up smears about me. And I think the most insulting thing is that she thinks I do it on purpose. Because tell me, do you think it's fun to have people think this about you? Do you think it's fun to have people make videos about you with nothing but lies? Do you think it's fun to get banned of Discords when your channel is so struggling for any kind of advice? Do you actually think any of that is fun to me? Because surprise, it isn't. It's annoying. And yet you're part of that situation, you're part of the problem, and just no matter what, you just can't seem to admit that your side here is the toxic one, is the bad one. That those are the people that are going after, picking on, making smears about a small YouTuber. That is not fun, no matter how much you want to think it is. And no, that's not how I'm trying to grow my channel. Get over it. It's not true. I'm at a point right now where this is all so annoying, and these people are just, I guess, so stubborn, or I don't even know what, that they just can't see the world in any other way. That I have to be the bad person, and they just ignore what their side is doing. They ignore the truth, and they just spread lies to people. And then when they get called out on it, what happens? I get banned instead. And if there's someone actually out there who is actually doing something like this to grow the channel, unlike me, no matter how much like people like Peaches want to believe it, if there's someone out there who does that to actually try and grow their channel, I pity them. Because boy is it annoying because they're actually annoying people for legitimate reasons then. I'm honestly hoping it really just stops soon, because it doesn't really help anything or anyone. In fact, it almost has the opposite effect. It just gives me more evidence on why people like you are just insane. And besides, think about it. If you're just so fed up, for whatever reason, Peaches or whoever else watching this, if you're so fed up with, you know, me asking for advice, then wouldn't banning me of a Discord server made for advice would be the last thing you want? Because you do realize the faster my channel grows, the faster I'll stop asking for as much advice. So it's kind of in your best interest, really. And then not only banning me from Discord, but then also making videos slandering me based on nothing but lies, discouraging people even more to give me advice. It just further decreases the chance of me getting good feedback. So what's the point? Did you just not think of that? Anyway, this is just so dumb. I really hope not many people are actually gonna fall for this. There is this video now, which you can use as a reference as usual. I hate doing these videos, but it has to be done, because people like Peaches have to make videos based on nothing but lies, but, yeah. Maybe one day things will finally change and these people will stop doing whatever they're trying to do here, because it's not working. And maybe one day they'll realize the irony of it, how they claim that I'm always the arrogant one, or the one who doesn't want to change the ways, but then they are the ones who just cannot believe in any other scenario other than damn a troll.
Wait, no, hold on, back up there for a second. Was that last screenshot Peaches giving you an example of your behavior that was going to get you booted from the Discord server?
At Avrona, I have asked you before to stop trolling the server. This behavior is, at its finest, trolling. In no regard is this even real IMO. You have blatantly lied about another content creator within this server to get hate towards them, and have continued to start drama. I gave you one last warning last time. This is pushing it.
So she did actually tell you what you were being warned about. I didn't even catch this the first time I sat through this video. Good lord! Your screenshots are even more cut up, selective, and out of context than I thought. It does appear this screenshot was taken sometime later due to the change in profile picture, though it lacks a date on it, so it's hard to tell how far apart the screenshots actually were, that Avrona acted as though he was never given any explanations or examples of this trolling accusation. But here it is, plain as day. Even with the missing context, which, like all the other screenshots thus far, is making me want to rip my fingernails off. Quick side note, the ironic hypocrisy of Peaches booting Avrona for spreading rumors and talking shit about other creators is rich, and we gotta laugh. Because if we don't laugh, we're going to cry. Alright, I'm done with this video from about the 16-minute mark. It's just a big pity party. I will note that Avrona seems genuinely distressed towards the end, and despite everything, I felt bad for him. I don't doubt that having people online know you in this light, not because of Peaches or Joel, just because of his own actions, must be taxing. And even though I find him supremely irritating, I still felt sorry for him initially. Take a shot, kids, because we're not done with Avrona yet. Blessedly, his second video is shorter, but he still manages to pack all the nonsense in tightly enough to fit. Let's rapid fire this, because I can only drink so much in one sitting, and we still haven't gotten to Peaches or Luke yet.
So, here's someone I didn't think I would talk about again, but hey, 2020 is a weird year, huh? And before I go into anything, I should probably clarify that this video isn't supposed to be about me being smug or going, "Ha, I told you so," even if that is admittedly kind of tempting. But no, I guess seeing how things have been kind of kicking off in regards to this topic, I decided to do a little update on what kind of my side of the story looks like.
I can't look into your heart and say if this is true or not, but safe to say I have my doubts about this claim. Given I've seen where you jumped at the chance to join a thread speculating on if Peaches lied about her experience of being a victim of grooming, that alone gives me reason to doubt your sincerity, and even if it was just a smooth brain moment for you, it's still a bad look. That goes for everyone that partook in such musings, not just Avrona.
If you don't know what I'm talking about already, well, a YouTuber that I had run-ins with in the past, who made a whole smear video about me filled with nothing but lies, is now apparently getting cancelled in the odd community because she has made up stuff and lied about other YouTubers. Where'd I hear that before? It's almost like she's been that way all along, but whatever.
1. Repeatedly saying slander and lies in smear video doesn't make it so. Peaches may be a slippery snake that lied plenty, but that does not suddenly make you any more credible.
So as a quick recap, back in February, she made a video talking about me, which was basically just a smear. There's no better way of describing it. Filled with literally nothing but unsubstantiated lies. And one thing that really stood out to me in that video is how easily people believed her. Like, just look at a like to dislike ratio. You would expect that to be way worse on a video filled with nothing but lies. But also in the comment section, you would see so many people become super toxic towards me just from seeing that video. Now, you wouldn't know that because she disabled comments on that video, but don't worry, I do have some screenshots remaining from when I did my original video about her, so you can see exactly how easily she turned people so toxic. Just look at that. Just all of that just from one video about me.
Vix! Vix! Fetch me the world's smallest violin for this one. These comments expressing moderate to low spice opinions on a small YouTuber's behavior in someone else's comment section are too much. This one says they don't like small YouTubers being obsessed. Oh, the cruelty. It's too much. Oh, and this one. My god, they feel bad for him? Just look at that. How horribly toxic. Look, Avrona, if you want everyone to handle you with kitty gloves, then you don't belong on the internet. The idea that the worst comment you showed here was one where they called you spoiled and ungrateful being the peak of toxicity is wild. Maybe there were more vile comments on that video. Maybe there weren't. We don't know now that the comments have been turned off, and the ones you provided are hardly what I would call toxic.
And you may be saying to yourself, well, what does it matter because she didn't call you out by name in that video? And that's only true in a way. Because firstly, if she was making such a big deal of hiding my identity and another YouTuber who she talked about, then why on earth did she put our names in the tags of the videos? Which meant that people were literally finding that video when they were looking me up on YouTube. And I had several people contact me saying, hey, do you see this video? It pops up when I search for you and you seem to be in the tags. Is this about you? I just had several people message me that because people were finding that video because of those tags.
We've already spoken about the tag situation. The only note I have about it here is that he says several people came to him about this video and shows no evidence. What a shock. Even if he did, I don't think I would care any more than I already do, so next.
And the second reason is that even if most people wouldn't know who the video is about, within the small YouTuber community we're both in at the time, while she was already doing a lot to damage my reputation, constantly smearing me, being extremely toxic about it, and since she was a staff member on the Discord server, I couldn't really do much about it. So yeah, great abuse of a position of power there. And I have plenty of screenshots of that and tons of other explanations as to what exactly happened in that video, so I recommend you check it out. It's coming up in the iCards, so you can see kind of the full picture of what happened.
This is part of the conversation between you and Peaches where you asked for her help and she refused. This is not her smearing you. The rest of the screenshots you showed here don't back your claims up either. These are both public comments that fall in line with what seemed to have happened with your banning from the Discord server, neither of which are particularly heinous. And this last one is one of the warnings that Peaches gave you before said banning. None of this is slanderous or a smear. We've already seen these all in the first video, there is nothing new here.
But literally 10 days after that video went up, I actually met with her in person. We actually talked in person at VidCon London. Now, it wasn't really a full conversation. It was kind of just like, hi, how are you? I'm fine, how are you? You enjoying VidCon? That kind of thing. It was very casual, but one thing that really stood out to me was how nonchalant she was being about the fact that she's talking to someone she just smeared a few days ago. If I was talking face-to-face to someone I'd try to defame, I don't know, I'd feel like it would be a bit more awkward. So that was even more kind of concerning about her and her character. And it looks like it looks like what happened to me was just an omen of things to come.
You're right, she really just should have been a bitch to your face. Because clearly that's how social interactions work. Because clearly someone who is known to have anxiety and mental health problems would go out of their way to continue a social interaction with someone they don't like, rather than immediately ending it after some obligatory surface level small talk. Obviously this is something to damn her over and show that she was a secret evil genius the whole time. You look me in the fucking eye and tell me you wouldn't just say hello and end a conversation with someone you don't like if you bumped into them.
So, not at all. But I'm hesitant to call anything here petty or anything like that, because even if she's being petty, her actions had a really dire effect on the reputations of other YouTubers, which is, well, never a good thing. And I guess just welcome to the club. And even if I am in some twisted way glad I'm not the only one who had their reputation at least somewhat damaged by hopeless speeches, well, that definitely shouldn't be a thing that one should be glad about. because that's still a terrible, terrible thing.
Oh, believe me, this is petty, my guy. This being the situation with you and Peaches specifically is extraordinarily petty. I hate to break this to you, but you're not Camilla, and you're not Creepshow Art. Remove Peaches from the equation, and you know what's left? Everything else. Joel's video, the screenshots of you and your behavior on forums, other videos breaking down your attitude, that doesn't go away with Peaches. She did not pluck these claims out of thin air when nothing existed previously. If you want to say she exacerbated the situation, sure, I can get behind that, but you're not the victim and you're not the martyr. Sit down before you hurt yourself.
Like, she was getting really close to getting 100,000 subscribers before this all kicked off. Yeah, she's almost at a silver play button, and she's still having to be a crook just to grow her channel. And compared to some of the YouTubers, she's doing extremely well. Like, just look at my channel. It's absolutely tiny compared to hers, and I've been doing this I've been working with this channel for 7 years. You don't see me lying about people just to try to get ahead. Most importantly of all, a lesson that probably most people know, and that is that trying to use the mental health card as protection and as trying to portray yourself as a victim is and always has been pathetic. Do I want to see her career ruined? Well, I mean, even though she has been a terrible person towards me and many others, and like everyone, I do appreciate some good karma, but overall, it all kind of depends if she doubles down or takes responsibility. But seeing how she's been trying to avoid the latter so far, and no matter what, she's just been trying to double down, I don't think we'll be seeing a redemption arc from her anytime soon.
After this, Avrona talks about the situation in general, and while most of it is very harsh, it's not technically untrue for the most part, so I'm not going to break it down here. Sure, he complains a bit more about his small channel, and generally continues to get under my skin, but we're nearly done. Surely I can make it through a third video.
Because if you don't know, I've been working away at this channel for over 7 years now. Yeah, that's right, I've been making videos for this channel since 2013. However, as you can probably tell by my numbers, well, the YouTube algorithm hasn't been kind to it. And the worst part is that no one knows why.
I am going to lose my goddamn mind. You know what? No, I'm done. I'm done with Avrona's videos. I'm not even going to go into all the videos about him. I'm not even going to go into Joel's video, which is very introspective and fascinating. I've had enough. And he's more or less just a side note on a bigger situation, so let me summarize and drop it like it's hot. Bottom line, I think Peaches was right about Avrona. She didn't make any claims that weren't already out there and backed up by existing screenshots and testimony about him. I will grant that her video didn't provide a lick of evidence to her claims, and I don't know if the argument of hiding his identity is a good excuse for this. On the flip side, I don't think her severe lack of thought when putting him in the tags demonizes her either. She wasn't trying to protect him, and Avrona had previously shown through his video response to Joel and public responses to other commentary channels that he is also not a channel in need of protecting. At the end of the day, all Peaches did was talk about her experience with another creator, an experience that was backed up by existing screenshots, videos, and testimony of others. And just like how the credibility of Camilla's claims against Peaches has carried over and offered support to other less substantiated claims, Peaches should be given the same sort of leeway here. Her critiques of him have been very hyperbolic, but they were not unfounded, nor would I consider her video to be slanderous. In a similar vein, the screenshots that Avrona himself displayed in these videos did nothing to support his claims and actually backed up Peaches' arguments further, even with how cropped and lacking in context they were. This is a pattern of behavior from Avrona that has been consistently called out. Maybe she was a bitch about it, but her critiques of him were not unfounded, nor were they fabrications. Her mistakes in this video were her framing and lack of evidence, as well as a bit of embellishment and strange handling of privacy and tags. But the actual gripes that she had with Avrona? Completely valid. If you want to call her out for how dodgy the video was made, fine, that's a valid opinion to hold, as this was really petty and she probably didn't need to talk about it. But you need to think the exact same of Big Joel too, as well as the other creators that have made videos expressing their complaints with Avrona in the same light. I said in my first video during the Hotbox section that Avrona was not what I would call a sweetheart, so what would I call him? Well, the first word that springs to mind would be desperate. And I don't say that in a demeaning way, as I perfectly understand how it feels to be desperate. Knowing what it's like to see yourself trying so hard and getting nowhere. Desperation is something I think a lot of us struggle with, Avrona included. And part of me does feel for Avrona, but my sympathy for him dwindles every time he rejects the help of others or decides it's a good fucking look to suggest that Peaches lied about her grooming experience. Now to Avrona directly. I know nothing I say is going to help you because given your track record, you simply won't accept any critique from me. But I'm gonna say it anyway for the kids in the back. Honestly, you should probably just start fresh, as so many people before me have suggested. Your channel isn't small and struggling because the algorithm hates you, it's because you're in an oversaturated platform and you're not doing anything to break the mold or stand out. If you want to grow, try listening to others and stop blaming everything on external sources. It's not the algorithm or cheap equipment or outdated logos, it's you. And only you can fix that. Anyway, I think that's enough of Avrona. I don't think my brain can take much more of this, so let's move on to the big boys. Which, come to think of it, I probably won't enjoy any more than Avrona's section. Joy. Finally, we come to prison mate Luke. Oh, Luke. Sweet, sweet prison mate Luke. You've been a bit snaky yourself, haven't you? But let's not pretend that so much of this doesn't stem directly from Luke's videos. Sure, there's the actual stories from victims of Peach's behaviour which should be brought to light and supported, but I can't help but notice that a majority of the problems I have with these prior videos seem to have a couple of things in common. Things that they have lifted directly from prison mate Luke's videos. Hotbox is the worst offender in this lineup, where at times he quotes Luke nearly verbatim, but the stench of these original two videos looms large over all of this. Whatever could I be so worked up about, I hear you pondering? What complaints could I have with dear sweet Luke here? Were his videos not the catalyst for people to come forward and speak their stories? Was he not well balanced and justified in his claims? Was he not also a victim of Peach's snakery? Was he not the beacon of hope against Peach's shadow? Oh, I think not, dear viewer. Let's pop the hood on this burnt out car and see what caused the wreck. Like most people, my introduction to this whole drama was through prison mate Luke's first video that solely focused on Peaches, after a shorter mention of her in his video on the Toby drama. I remember watching it for the first time on my lunch break between Karen's and uncovered shifts during the Christmas busy season, and thinking, oh, damn, what a shame, I really liked Peaches, oh well. And then later that night I thought to myself, oh, I should make a video in support of Creepshow and the rest. Yeah, I'll just give it another watch and make sure I know what I'm saying. Then a few videos later I realized, oh, shit, this is absolute trash. And here we are, my origin story. Luke's video were the source for much of the narrative surrounding this story, and hearing it regurgitated back to me and countless smaller channels made me very, very cross with you all. Kids, children, my sweet babadoodles, come on. I know you're better than this. You need to read the screenshots being spoken about, not just listen to the words coming out of the speaker's gob. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about.
Well, a little bit after the video went up, she made an apology on both her Twitter and YouTube, and addressed everything she did. I did have some issues with it, but I wasn't going to call her out over it. If this is where the drama ends, I'm willing to bite the bullet. But that's not where it ended. She kept going on about it. And not only that, instead of being sorry for what she did, she turned really bitter about having to apologize and started lying about me. Where just a few days later, it turned from an issue she had to work on and improve, it turned into me being this awful person who was throwing around accusations that were ruining her career. Even though if you went to her social or her Twitter, you could see that she was gaining subs. Which is funny because you say I called you a liar for no reason, but there you are lying about the effect I had on your channel for no reason.
Right off the bat, does anyone see the problem here? Anyone? Timmy in the back, maybe? No? Okay, let me break this down for you. In the screenshot that Luke displays here, claiming that Peaches is calling him a terrible, awful person, Peaches explicitly says she doesn't think that. Huh. Funny that. Let's take a closer look at what's being said.
Reading for I don't believe the goo. Due to these tweets and the fact I didn't go through with it, has caused allegations of me faking suicide and suicide baiting. I have lost subs already due to this video, and I have had a lot of comments about me or at me, calling me manipulative, a liar, and everything in between. I don't believe the guy who made the video said this stuff due to being intentionally malicious. I feel it was all just being heated and interpreting me in the worst way. But I can't shake this. It feels so much worse than anything else. It hurts to know that, well, because I didn't die that day, I am seen as a manipulator and liar. Again, that is not what he wants or anything at all. It's just how my brain is perceiving it because, no, I'm not mentally well right now. That is kinda how a brain like mine, and probably others like me, would perceive this. Though I do know I need to remember that that can't be the truth. I hope not.
Gee, that doesn't sound at all like... How did you put it, Luke?
It turned into me being this awful person who was throwing around accusations that were ruining her career.
To be honest, this sort of makes me really mad. She even had notes that he was interpreting her in the worst possible way, and he's doing it again right in front of the words that disprove his claim. Also, side note, you can take a hit with subs and still gain more. Keemstar comes to mind. Sure, she might have been exaggerating, but it was hardly her main grievance, and your focus on it seems pretty nitpicky, ignoring that all of these videos are nitpicky. Not to mention that she had a video that came out after this that gave her a pretty strong sub boost that was completely separate from her sub loss after your video. To look purely at a sub count rise and not take into account the activity of her account is either short-sighted or purposefully misleading.
He claims after this that Peaches said it negatively affected her channel, and then he refutes it by showing her channel growing afterwards. This is poor research and comes off as manipulation of the facts. Looking at her social blade from the week she tweeted this of November 9th, you'll see she does actually experience sub loss. The only reason she grew so quickly afterwards was because her story of abuse blew up. He took two different scenarios and mashed them together to try and say Peaches was lying, ironically making him look like that in the process.
And I know what Luke would say to all of this, as it was a point recently addressed in his Just Stop response video. Luke states that he showed evidence that backed his claims somewhere else in his video. Okay, let's pretend for a moment that's actually what happened. Well, you're just bad at your job, and you were bad at your job repeatedly. Now let's stop living in pretend land where Luke is just bad at making his videos and actually talk about the claim of this evidence being shown elsewhere in the video.
And you acting like I said this just to hurt her is really fucking shitty of you. I wouldn't have made any of my videos on her had she not kept lying about me, but she did, and this is what it led to.
Going point by point, at 137, he claims Peaches was throwing around accusations that Luke was only trying to ruin her career, but he shows an image where she takes accountability and says while she was hurt by getting messages about suicide baiting, she didn't blame Luke at all without even directly stating his name. She even clarifies this in the post multiple times that she doesn't think the person who was speaking had any ill intent. While there are also instances in her comments of her saying she felt the person attacked her and called her a liar/scumbag because she didn't die that night, something that is indeed not true, she never does directly say Luke in those comments. And on the one thread where she does mention Luke, she says she agrees with some of his points and doesn't think he was malicious in saying what he did at all. Playing devil's advocate for Peaches here, she could have thought this way because you did brush off her breakdown/attempt as just baiting, and that she must not care about her audience if she's willing to do that. It does sort of feel as an attack if you look at it that way. Also, while Luke never calls her a scumbag directly, he does say her actions are scummy and that it says a lot about her as a person, so I could see the correlation she made.
Well, I did use the wrong screenshot there, but there are other screenshots that I did show of her demonizing me and backpedaling, trying to paint me as this evil larger creator targeting her, but you can't say I'm purposely leaving out context to make my argument look better when you do the exact same thing throughout this whole video.
This screenshot does not prove your claim any more than the one you said was used incorrectly. Either you seriously cannot read the things you put on screen, or you're pulling the same trick by putting screenshots up that don't support you and pretending that they do. Let's read the two you used here out loud and compare them to your claims.
Yeah, I won't lie. To have a channel bigger than me with such a popular video, with so many people attacking my character or just me outright because I didn't die, it's like the whole world is saying I should've. At Lady Horizon T94. Yeah, I just have so many feelings swirling in my head right now that 100k plus people all seem to agree with the sentiment. I am a liar and a scumbag because I didn't die.
I'm sorry, Luke, do you want to run that by me again? Please, by all means, point out where in these screenshots Peaches is backpedaling. Show me the words where she says, "Prisonmate Luke is attacking me and wishes I had died." By all fucking means, enlighten me. Is it possible that you used the wrong screenshots again, while in the middle of responding to a claim that you don't know how to use your screenshots correctly? Because those are your options, Luke. Either your mind is a soggy sea sponge and you are unable to understand the words that you keep putting on your screen, or you're mischaracterizing Peaches here and putting up these screenshots because you believe people won't use their eyes to read them. Either way, you did it bad. These videos are bad. Anyway, I'm sure Just Stop and Luke's responses will crop up again in this video somewhere, as well as this problem of Luke's poorly placed and unsupported screenshots. So I figured I'd just get it out of the way now. See, this is what happens when you wait a few weeks to release a video. More shit comes out, and then you cross over the 3-hour mark. Yippee. Honestly, Luke's response to Just Stop was so pitiful, I had to take 3 different breaks from it because of how infuriating it was. I could likely make a whole video just on how and why his arguments don't work and how it reinforces his bad video making habits, but right, we're talking about Peaches. We still gotta talk about Peaches. I can't get bogged down in the sea of stupid that was his response video to Just Stop. Speaking of Peaches, let me tack on quickly that she's hardly better in this case. Peaches claiming people were harassing her for not dying is about as an uncharitable interpretation as Luke's on her, so she gets no brownie points here. Keep in mind this is not a defense of Peaches, it's just me calling out my frustration with how other people have handled the situation.
She's also been lying to her audience about what I said in my video, telling people that I was upset that she didn't die or that I called her a scumbag because of it. At no point did I call her a scumbag at all. I said what she was doing on Twitter was scummy. Those are 2 different things.
Yeah, this is a distinction worth noting, and they do mean different things, but it's also not like she magicked the words up out of thin air, and it's not a wild leap to equate the two. Calm down. Not to mention that you're being so very, very particular about making sure that people keep to your phrasing verbatim while taking Peaches wildly out of context when it suits you. Make it make sense, Luke.
And she accused me of a lot of things that simply aren't true. And I'm only showing them to show you guys that she's been threatening me with a video and was just really toxic. She started off by saying that she hadn't really involved herself in this situation for a while, which is a lie. She had been constantly tweeting and commenting on videos about the drama. Just because it isn't a video, it doesn't mean you didn't do anything. Peaches says I portrayed her as gross and I accused her of not having a mental illness. When in my video I said if she needs to take a break and get help with her mental health, that's fine. She then says I'm the one that's grossly misrepresenting people when she's talking about me like I'm some sort of monster who wants her to die and lose her career. I didn't tell anyone to unsub or dislike your channel. If they did that, that's on them. I even went out of my way to ask my viewers not to attack you in a community post.
Now we get into the private DMs between the two of them. Let's take a look and see what Luke claims compared to what we're reading on screen.
Hello, I saw your video responding to Just a Robot. I just wanted to ask about your video and, well, the conclusion you had about me. The last time I have been directly involved was my argument with Omnia. I've gone into that in my community and Twitter post that you were tagged in. That was over a month ago now. Since then, the only time I have really brought it up was in relation to allegations of racism and being friends with Toby. I'm sure you must know neither of those things are true. The last time I have tweeted at all about the situation was on the 18th of October, due to, again, more bombardment of comments of racism. I didn't even mention Omnia and Kai, or even Toby by name in that post. After that, I didn't tweet or post about it. I'm sorry, I have a public post apologizing and talking about a lot of stuff that, again, you were tagged in, so I'm guessing you've seen it. So I won't go into that here. Instead, I wanted to say how your portrayal of me in your video was really gross. I don't believe you did it intentionally, but no, I was not faking suicide at all, nor was I suicide baiting or faking any other kind of illness at all. I feel I have been just wrongfully dragged into this drama far longer than necessary. Thuman already covered what needed to be covered. And I just find it greatly disturbing that you not only have been following my every move, but then brought me up in a video not even remotely about me. I had no involvement with Just a Robot's video. I disagreed with a lot of points also.
Okay, let me just break in here real quick. I know this isn't the Peaches section, but I still need to make a note of this. Peaches, you were involved in Jar's video. Regardless of the extent of that involvement, this is a flat out lie. You had access to the script of the video and edited something within it. No matter how much else you knew about it, to say that you had no involvement at all is misleading at best. I just wanted to slide that in here before we continued. Anyway, onwards.
And I'm trying to get better with my mental health. Sending people to my channel to mass unsub and comment how I am a liar and suicide baiter because I didn't go through with my attempt is very upsetting. Please, in future, don't do this. I worry that you may not only hurt the person you are grossly misrepresenting, but also trigger those watching you who go through similar situations. Please read my post that you were tagged in and leave me alone. Thank you. Also, apologies for this being badly worded. I am a bit shaken up at the moment.
Hey, I didn't answer you originally because you told me not to and insinuated that I was a stalker. But since you want to keep this drama going, I guess I'll just respond. I don't appreciate you lying to your audience and saying that I said you don't have mental health problems. I said you did. And if you need a break, that's fine. What I said was you're constantly throwing yourself a mental health pity party, saying that you will leave for your health, and then you would be back a day later. And when you say goodbye, don't post for half a day and then act like you never did that. I can only come to the conclusion that you baited your suicide. I don't know you. I don't know what you're like, but the way you are portraying me is very shitty, and I don't deserve that just because you don't want to have to deal with criticism.
Irony. Oh, sweet, sweet irony. Yeah, the idea that Luke doesn't like to be misinterpreted, but seemingly was perfectly fine with repeatedly and unabashedly misinterpreting Peaches is fucking wild to me. From what I've seen of Luke's reaction to other commentary channels critiquing him, that is to say, taking it as a personal attack when they are very fair and balanced, yes I am talking about Just Stop, it's quite clear to me that Luke is not ready to handle criticism headed his way. If you can't take the softest ball in history, maybe don't come out with nuclear takes on other people, my guy.
I haven't been following your every move. I didn't put you in the video for no reason. You decided to comment because you were upset about getting backlash for all the garbage you pulled. If you don't want to be involved, then stop commenting on other people's posts on the drama and stop talking about it. You're the only one putting yourself in this situation. No one else is. And going back and forth on the drama when it suits you isn't fair to everyone you've hurt and lied about, including me.
I'm sorry, but I have not used your name when defending myself against your claims. Due to such claims, I have had quite a lot of harassment. I was hoping it was more of a spur of the moment thing, due to it being a heated situation. However, the fact you believe that my portrayal of you in my post is shitty, yet you find no problems with your video or your very biased and stigmatic claims of me faking suicide and suicide baiting, I feel like this conversation won't go anywhere. I've defended myself where I need to, so I won't go into this further.
You straight up added me in on your community page and on Twitter, so do not try to lie to my face. Also, it is not my fault that people are upset with your god-awful behavior. The fact that you're bitter toward me for having to apologize for the way you've acted is hilarious and shows how awful you are. And I know you have a habit of turning DMs on people because I've talked with people that have been fucked over by you. So please, don't.
So you are upset I apologized and agreed with parts of your video? That was a separate community post. However, both you and I know this, so there is little point arguing here. It seems the only person who is bitter about apologizing is you. I have already, and I stand by it. Hello, I'm hoping since the drama is now properly over with Toby and others, that maybe you would be more willing to listen and understand my point of view. What you accused me of in your video was very hurtful, as not only did you lie about my mental health and accuse me of very disgusting things such as suicide baiting and lying about the severity of my illness, you also aided in spreading a very negative stigma around mental health. I'm asking once again if you could either add a correction and delete that part of your video. I don't think just silently deleting it would do too much good on its own, considering the things people now believe I am due to your video that has reached near 150,000 people.
Now that we've read the messages out in full, at least what we've been given by Luke, we can continue on with his video and see what he had to say about Peaches in their little chat. Honestly, her messages to him don't actually seem all that heinous. Perfect? No. But she was civil and polite, only occasionally saying she thought something was gross, but still reaffirming she didn't think he was malicious. So where the fuck is he getting all this evil intent from? Are people not pausing to read these messages? Or who am I kidding? We already know that's not happening. Now, Peaches does actually mention a video here, but that's hardly a threat. Also, having a video made against you shouldn't even be seen as a threat when you've opened up the situation publicly yourself. Using this as a she's manipulative and a liar card seemed inappropriate. Shockingly, she's allowed to make a video about a situation that she is a part of. The idea that you, a commentary channel that spends their time on YouTube making videos about other people, has the goal to act as though someone making a video on you is a threat is ludicrous. Perhaps Luke's reasoning for thinking this way is a form of projection, given that in recent events, which I don't have time to go into as it all happened recently and well after scripting was done, and it doesn't actually affect the Peaches situation at all, supposedly Luke is more than willing to turn around and make exposed videos on former friends after they speak up about their critiques of him. What I'm saying here is that Luke seems to try and wield his voice and videos as a weapon against others, so perhaps that's where this idea of Peaches mentioning a video about him becomes a threat. But hey, that's purely speculation on my part.
She told me to leave her alone, so I did. I didn't answer, I didn't vaguely tweet about her, I left it alone, because I thought maybe she would have thought this over and realized how unreasonable she was being. But instead, she took it as a sign to keep tweeting about me and demonizing me and my character to her entire audience.
This is not a bad tweet. It's barely even a subtweet. This doesn't even seem to be about you specifically, just the situation at large. Arguably, Luke was the situation at the time, but it's still so insanely petty to say this is her painting him as a monster. Why are you so incensed by this? Once more, let's read what's being said and then play what Luke said.
Thank you for reading. I still feel very shaken up. I don't know how to really hold myself moving forward, but I am talking to people and so I should be okay. Don't worry about that. Don't also harass anybody who said these things. I just want to lessen the stigma for others.
But instead, she took it as a sign to keep tweeting about me and demonizing me and my character to her entire audience.
If you keep reaching like this, Luke, you are going to strain something. Settle down before something snaps, like my patience. His tone here is harsh, and that's not a crime. Let me preface this by saying that a harsh tone doesn't give you permission to pry a victim or go completely off the rails. But as Peaches is already known to be a little bit unstable here, I can understand why she took to it so poorly. Also, I can see the argument that please leave me alone meant don't respond, but equally I can see Peaches wording it poorly and meaning not to say things about her publicly, especially when she followed it up with another message. This isn't really a point for or against anyone, just more of that uncharitable readings thing from either side. Granted, Luke is being more uncharitable than Peaches for the time being, but let's move on.
And after ignoring it for a bit, I messaged her back, and I told her I'm only responding because she's accusing me of stuff I didn't do. It isn't my fault that she hadn't explained anything she had done until someone called her out. And I said I don't deserve for her to lie about me for sympathy, especially since she's only getting backlash for the garbage she pulled. She then responded that she hadn't mentioned my name once, which is a lie. She had name dropped me several times, and I'm the only one that was calling her out for her garbage at the time.
No screenshots. Where are they? I am assuming one of the supposed name drops was from Peach's community post, the one we saw referenced earlier in your conversation. You know, the one that Luke was tagged in where she agreed that he had some good points. But because he's providing no examples of what he's actually referring to, I'm just stuck fucking guessing at this point. And moreover, regardless of if this claim is true or not, the real problem here is still the lack of evidence. Again, it seems that it's okay for Luke to make these claims without showing anything to back him up, but when Peaches does the same, everyone loses their collective marbles. Why push the burden of evidence onto the viewer? At worst, it's because he has no proof and is lying. At best, it's laziness. Either way, it's bad commentary etiquette. Just believe me, guys, is not going to cut it.
She even called me a hypocrite for being upset about her lying about me. Unlike you, I don't need to make up stuff to look better. And I also brought up how she kept screwing over other creators out of nothing more than spite. She then blocked me. And I hope this is where it would have ended, but instead she kept lying about me. She said how creators and fans were harassing her, when I know of no one besides myself that called her out, and I haven't talked to her since my blocking. And if any of my fans did that, I'm sorry, but she is overblowing the backlash she got, and the criticism she's got is only due to her actions during the Toby drama.
Earlier he said he knew people went to harass her after his video, so what the fuck is this? The only positive way I can view this is that he means exclusively other creators, but that's not what she said, and you fucking know it. I'm not gonna deal with another hotbox style argument of they don't matter, they're not creators, so you shouldn't care about them. Not to mention, you aren't the only one that's criticized her. If we're going back to the Toby drama, she was being criticized and called out for Omnia and Kai long before you made the videos. Just because they didn't immediately do so in video form does not mean that other creators weren't criticizing her. Either you're dense or you're playing dumb. Either way, you should know better at your size.
And Peaches never let Creepshow know that they were done being friends. She found out about all of this when people just wouldn't associate with her because of what Peaches said.
Here it is! The worst fucking evidence I've seen thus far, and the screenshot that got me heated enough to start writing this video. This is absolute garbage. Yeah, I'm not even fucking with this one. Where is this from? Who is speaking? Just throwing a random message on screen with no context does not support your claim. We don't know where this is from, who is speaking, when it was said, what context it's in. Why is this supposed to prove anything at all? You've given me nothing. You have promised me the world and given me dust. You have evidence blueballed me. I'm sorry if they wanted to be anonymous, but I can't accept testimony if I don't know how credible the person giving it is. And after having watched how you dealt with this situation and the Pyro situation, Luke, you are not credible to me.
Thankfully, me and Peaches are in different commentary communities, because I doubt that many gaming commentary channels even know about her or this drama, but it doesn't change how wrong it is, and this isn't a rarity either. Hopeless Peaches has a habit of blocking people who slightly disagree with her, or going on vindictive streaks against them, while at the same time playing the victim to them.
Here he claims she blocks people over the smallest things or goes on vindictive tirades, and while I believe this is likely true from other things I've seen of her, he shows no fucking evidence. Also, she's welcome to block whomever she pleases. Vindictive tweet sprees? Not so much, but blocking is fair game. No one is obligated to put up with you if they don't want to. People acting as though creators blocking them is some sort of evidence of wrongdoing or moral lacking on their part are being entitled and need to cram it. Also, take note of the comment from Luke at the beginning about them belonging in different commentary communities. Given how Luke has handled the drama that is based in other communities, like say, the Pyro situation, I can't help but think this little comfort to himself hardly matters. If you continuously display bad faith behavior and make biased trash videos that cause people harm, then it won't matter what community you're in because you'll be ousted from them all over time regardless. Unless you're Keemstar, of course.
Well, at the same time, you can't call her out for what she's doing because then you're the bad guy, and she will not let you live it down for the rest of your career. And I'm not going to let her do that to me, or Creepshow, or anyone else. We're not going to be buddies, we're not going to be friends, or we're not going to be cordial either. If this video does what I hope it does, we won't interact again, and you'll just leave me alone.
Her message literally says she doesn't want to be buddies. Why do you act like she's asking to be buddies? Also, you can be cordial, there's no reason not to be at this point, you're just weirdly aggressive. Are you obliged to be nice to her? No, not at all. But you can't act slighted when she isn't nice to you in return. You can't be aggressive with people and make bold claims and turn around and cry injustice when you're met with that same energy. And, oh, I'm sorry, Luke, do you want to be the last and only word in a drama? Is that why you hope she'd never contact or interact with you again? Well, I'm so very, very sorry, but you don't get to dictate the response to videos that you make publicly. Additionally, like there was not already enough salt in this wound, here Luke doubles down on the idea that he can be as uncivil as he likes in this situation, that they don't need to be cordial, to quote him, yet his reaction to a fairly inoffensive and balanced critique from Just Stop prompted him to all but lose his fucking mind and act as though it was an attack on his person. What I'm saying here is that Luke is running by a double standard for what's okay for him to do compared to what everyone else is allowed to do, and is only comfortable to be the one dishing out harsh critique while remaining wholly incapable of taking it himself. I'm saying he's made of soft, squishy jelly parts, and that sort of consistency is gonna get him squished in commentary. Anyway, that was video 1, already not off to a great start. Let's see how hard he doubles down in video 2.
Now, I'm making this video for a couple reasons. One, because Peaches has continued to lie about me and what happened, and only deletes what she said afterward because she gets called out for it.
Okay, let's read the screenshots.
I will be responding to the accusations about me in due time. Until then, Creepshow Art has never screamed at me or harassed me. If anyone is spreading rumors about her like that, stop. I never went after her reputation, I got overwhelmed and did walk away. As I said in my DM to her, I'm sorry I did that. Luke has not said I should just die. I've said to many people I know that. I was upset that I had hefty allegations about me because I didn't go through with offing myself. I don't believe Shannon has intentionally twisted things or done anything bad here, I think. But so far, the accusations seem to have gone out of control, and I have not seen any proof of me going after her relationships yet. It feels like Chinese whispers that has hurt everyone, so don't harass Shannon either, at all.
We've been over this before, and I'll ask it again. Do you even read your own screenshots, Luke? Now, Luke includes a whole section coming directly from Camilla, and as I've already covered her as much as I think I need to, I won't be saying anything about that here. Same as before, I think her grievances with Peaches are perfectly understandable, and I hope she's doing better now that this is all off her chest and she's been publicly cleared of Peaches' accusations. Back to Luke, who I don't feel so warmly towards. I can at least say that when he talks about Camilla, thinks him above board, so we're gonna jump forward quite a bit in the video.
And she even said that she told people that I didn't wish she died, which she had been going around telling people that. And even in that sense, she basically rewarded it to say the exact same thing. Me throwing around allegations because you didn't off yourself. When it had nothing to do with me wanting you dead, and it had to do with me wanting you to own up to what you've done to people.
Luke, why do you not read your screenshots? I beg! Here's what Luke said.
And she even said that she told people that I didn't wish she died, which she had been going around telling people that.
And here is the actual fucking quote that he showed.
Yeah, I just have so many feelings swirling in my head right now. That 100k plus people all seem to agree with the sentiment. I am a liar and a scumbag because I didn't die.
She is stating you didn't say that and that she was wrong to make such a claim, not reinforcing the idea. What?
And even in that sense, she basically rewarded it to say the exact same thing.
No, she did not do that. That is the most uncharitable reaching interpretation of her comment imaginable. Regardless of if you said that or not, people have since picked up that narrative. There's no point pretending otherwise, and your hair splitting here and looking for deception is fucking telling.
You probably won't be surprised to hear that she deleted it, because the comments were calling her out for everything. And it was her own fans too. They were asking her, why is this a constant problem? Why are you constantly lying about other YouTubers out of spite? I wish I had saved some screenshots of it. But she's been doing this stuff on Twitter too, saying I had Toby as an alleged source, and that my video had no proof. When I mentioned Toby once in the video, to say that this was a spin-off of that whole dumpster fire. Honestly, think about it. Do you think that Toby would speak to me, let alone conspire with me to bring you down?
To be honest, yeah, she has a fucking point. Besides Camilla having evidence from DMs and a post on the Amino, no one else has really come forward to provide much else, at least at the time of the first video. All you had was Shannon's word, and while we tend to trust and believe that it's credible, that's still all you fucking had. So regardless of if Peaches is just using this as a reason to dismiss or cast doubt on claims that are true, she's still not wrong, and you need to come to the table with evidence for your claims. Weren't you the one that didn't trust Ivory's claims against Pyro supposedly for the same fucking reason? Also, Toby was allegedly a source in your video. Shannon said some of this came from Toby talking to her about what Peaches was saying behind the scenes, and you elaborated on why that made Shannon's response video to Toby more heated. So, it wasn't just you talking about the Toby drama in passing. Do not even try me with that.
Honestly, think about it. Do you think that Toby would speak to me, let alone conspire with me to bring you down?
That's not even remotely what she was saying, and I think you fucking know it. Because of your lack of supporting evidence, her asking where these claims came from is perfectly understandable. If the claims are false, even though we're pretty certain at this point that they're not, anyone would ask to know who was saying these things if they were innocent, and even though I don't think she is, I still don't see this request as something unreasonable. You're welcome to refuse it if the parties involved want to be protected, and I endorse that, but the trade-off is that we will never be sure of what the truth is, and again, Peaches isn't out of line for asking, so please stop dramatizing everything she's saying. My greatest concern is how this mindset can be used in the future in different situations. If someone is accused of something based off DMs that we can't see, and they ask to know who is saying these things only to be demonized for doing so, where does that leave the accused?
Now she is saying that she never yelled at her, even though she was telling all of the art commentary community, including Toby, that she was some horrible monster that yelled at her.
Including Toby. Including Toby! You just said she wasn't cited as a source of information, you fucking nit! So are you saying this is new to you? Because that's untrue. In your last video you had screenshots from Shannon saying that Toby was the one telling her things. You don't get to rewrite history now. Let's get one thing square here, kids. This is what we call bad faith bullshit. Luke flat out isn't reading these screenshots, or he is bold-faced lying to you about their content. At best, these are reaches and bad interpretations of what's actually being said. But the fact he doesn't read these aloud allows a lot of people to miss what's actually on screen and just trust the voice of a large commentary channel, and that's rather telling. This is dangerous, and Luke has proven in the past that he is biased and prone to painting people in harsh lights when he plain just didn't like them. Case in point, I know I've mentioned a couple times, and I'm going to mention it again, his treatment of the pyrocynical drama, where he went out of his way to believe everything Pyro said in his statement, while demanding that the supposed victim Ivory prove what fucking colour underwear he had on that day to even be taken remotely seriously. That situation was messy, I won't deny, and I have seen that Luke made an apology video for it, but that does nothing to erase what his mistakes showed about his attitude and how he creates his videos. Luke has different standards for different people. Let's compare. Pyrocynical? Well, at the time he came out with a document that made claims that it was all lies with no proof, and Luke took that as gospel. Whereas Ivory provided DMs, verified to be real, featuring inappropriate conversations between himself and Pyro, the girlfriend flipping out and all but confirming these allegations, and oh, that's not enough for you, Luke. Ivory is just a clout chaser still? Well, fancy fucking that. How much evidence would he need to provide before you even question Pyro's word? Look, I don't want to go into that particular situation too much here, as regardless of who is innocent or guilty, telling the truth or lying, it has no effect on Luke's failings as a commentary channel. As based off absolutely no evidence at all, except for the fact he liked the person speaking, he was willing to dismiss a possible victim and call them a clout chaser. Now that situation has since devolved and changed and this and that, but that does nothing to affect what Luke did. Because he's not commentary, he's reactionary. He doesn't do unbiased or evidence-based, he makes decisions and then does what he can to convince himself and us of that decision until his mistakes are so blatant and indefensible that he's shouted down. In short, Luke has proven himself to either be a liar or incompetent, and with a channel of his size, it is gross negligence to be as reactionary and poorly researched as he is. When you're making claims of clout chasing, manipulation, false accusations, and suicide baiting, you have an obligation to rise to a higher standard, and you did not meet that standard, Luke. And now we're all stuck in a circle jerk of stupid because of it. So much of this regurgitated bullshit stems directly from Luke's videos, and I am frankly embarrassed with myself for having taken him at face value the first time I watched them. That is fucking all on that, folks. Except, that's not all, is it? Alright, gals, pals, and everything yet to be coined, we finally slugged through all the videos I had the energy to look into about Peaches, the reactionary, the illusionary, the annoying, airy, and now we've finally reached the core of it all. Not Luke, he's less the core and more the fuse that set things off, but Peaches herself. Now, I'm hoping if you've been listening to me this whole time, you'll realize that despite my ripping into Luke and Avrona here, Peaches is by no means off my radar. As I've said before, we do not abide by snakes in this here house, and Peaches has been slithering around unnoticed for a good long time now. Let me be very clear about this. Snakedom is not forever. You can grow out of it, and I hope that Peaches does, but she's not gotten off to a good start with her response video, nor her tweets, nor her general behaviours. We'll be looking at her response video here as well as using the other videos covered up until now to speak about what she's done. Keep in mind a lot of this would have been mentioned and discussed in Hotbox's section of the last video, and I'll be trying not to go over the same arguments ad nauseum here, unless there's something new that I have to add. So, without further ado, let's do what I feel Hotbox and Luke failed at. Let's discuss Peach's snake-like sins fairly.
For better cohesion and personally for everyone's sake, I'll be responding to the two videos separately. Even though the videos are by the same person, they include quite disjointed accusations, and I don't want to lump these two creators Luke mentions together. Apologies for how this will be in two parts, however, as stated, with how complex a lot of this is, it is the only way I can fully cover everything without missing anything out. So, the first video is in response to how I reacted to his reaction to Just the Robots video on the Toby drama. Personally, I feel Spock dealt with that drama pretty swiftly, and Jar himself responded to most of Luke's video. So I won't go into that here. Instead, I will link both Spock and Jar's videos below if you want more information on all that.
Alright, if you've gotten this far in the video, you likely already know how I feel about the inclusion of Jar's video here, especially given the evidence that's come out about how Peaches may have assisted with the creation of that first video on the Toby drama. In short, I don't like it, and I think it's a bad look. A look made even worse by her involvement with said video and subsequent lies about that involvement. She is at least correct in her inclusion of Spock's video being a pretty good breakdown on the bullshit that was going on at the time, but that's for another video. For now, let's talk about what these comments actually tell us. Right off the bat, they tell me only bad things. They tell me that this will not consist so much of an apology or an explanation, but instead justification. And unless Peaches has bombshell evidence that proves her detractors liars, then there's no point trying to fight these accusations. Despite that, I think she's still perfectly justified in responding to this situation to try and plead her case. I just don't think she'll get very far.
Now, I feel Luke misspoke here, as I highly doubt he took such a vague goodbye tweet as a way of encouraging suicide. What I believe he meant was that I had faked suicidal tendencies and used mental health as an excuse for drama. Not only that, but he has gone on to say I did this to hide from criticism. Firstly, at this point in time, it would make very little sense. Thuman's video first mentioned me in the Toby drama on the 6th of October, and I agreed with that criticism. My tweet I gave out when I wished to commit suicide was quite a lot later, at the end of October. Despite a few rumours of racism and rumours of harassing Omnia and Kai, which is not true, the initial criticism of getting involved in the drama was perfectly justifiable.
Okay, again, if you've watched my segment on Luke, you likely know where this is gonna go. Technically, she's right with what suicide baiting actually means, but I think we all know that's not how Luke intended it, and Peaches does go on to agree that's not how he meant it. So we're gonna proceed with how Luke meant the term, because honestly, I don't think that saves him from her criticism in any way. The way he meant it was fucked up too, and Peaches is correct to break down as to why this was an uncharitable interpretation of her tweet at the time. I do appreciate that Peaches doesn't hide from what her tweet was actually about by claiming it was just a short goodbye from the internet sort of tweet. It could have been taken that way, but her owning up to what it truly meant is a bit of a relief. However, I don't think this inherently makes her a liar. When people are emotional and suffering suicidal thoughts, this sort of thing is not uncommon. Where you can falter is her handling of it after the fact and the evidence that she's partaken in this sort of behavior previously. Peaches, if you do this, be it a moment of genuine struggle with mental health, you owe it to the people that love and care for you that when you come back, you apologize once you're feeling better. To explain in your next tweet what happened and not just carry on as though it's business as usual. I think people are right to call you out on this. You did scare people even if you didn't mean to, and you owe it to them to explain yourself when you come back. With that said, I still stand by my thoughts on Luke's response to all of this being out of line and then trying to hide behind a word change. Luke accused her of suicide baiting and then later switched the wording to sympathy baiting, and no matter what he or Hotbox might say about that change, it is a change worth noting. Suicide baiting and sympathy baiting are not remotely the same thing. One is far more grievous than the other and involves the abuse of people's fear for your life and manipulation of mental health as a rationale behind your actions. The other is just pity me please. So no, they're not synonymous, and I think Peaches can rightly call you out on this. Conclusion: Peaches, own up to your mistakes and try to think about the consequences of your actions, and Luke, just, man, come on, can you think before you spit out accusations about people's character? Jesus. Moving on.
I even made an apology post for Omnia where I stand by all the criticism on commenting on and being tense on drama I really had no reason to stick my nose into.
Let's back up a little here as well and talk about this apology to Omnia. It rings a little hollow, doesn't it? After all we've seen from Omnia's videos, the screenshots, the tweets, the comments, this apology just doesn't land, and I don't fault Omnia for not taking it after all of this. You may have apologized here, but your actions before and after make it all seem like lip service, Peaches.
I know Luke later states that by criticizing his point on me suicide baiting, I am going against this apology. That is very untrue. Not only are Luke and Omnia two very different people, but both by mental health and my criticism on his mention on my mental health were not related to these actions or the drama as a whole. Secondly, nowhere within this tweet do I specifically mention suicide. Actually, most people would and did see the tweet as me leaving Twitter, which I should have done a while ago. This isn't to turn around and say I never intended suicide. That was true. I did. However, I more mean to bring this up to discredit the faking of suicide or suicide baiting portion of his video. To fake suicide or use it for sympathy, I would have had to tie it closely to the drama, which by the time scale is close but by far no cigar. I would have also had to make it far more blunt that I was intending suicide in the first place. Actually, I can discredit the allegations of faking suicide, or at least give a lot more defense than Luke could for his allegations. In this community post, I mentioned how I was going to seek professional help, which I did. I rang my doctor and I was prescribed an antidepressant sertraline. I was also offered a number of counsellors for transferal, which sadly, due to the pandemic, has been slower than anticipated. Since my depression started from childhood depression, it is quite severe and, according to studies, doesn't react to medication as well as if it was a newer condition.
Your childhood experiences may have an impact on why you may be suffering from depression now. People who become depressed at a young age tend to experience more severe symptoms and are less receptive to treatment because of how long they've gone without help.
One of the many side effects of this drug was suicidal tendencies.
Oh god, here we go! I know we touched on this in Hotbox's video, but I've seen this point made by other creators all over the place since, and I am going to break it down nice and slow for everyone in the room, even the people in the back chewing on their toenails. First, yes, Peaches should have credited the section of another creator's video when she used it properly. That means a name on the screen, a link in the description, so on and so forth. The fact that she neglected to do this is mind-boggling to me. She has links to other creators' videos in there, notably big drama videos, but not to the mental health video that she used the section of. It's just negligent and frankly a little bit rude in my opinion. If you've seen this, Peaches, and I seriously doubt you will, fix that. It's very easy to credit in your description and apologize for missing it. At the time of scripting, Peaches still hadn't done this, and as far as I know, this change hadn't been made before she deleted the video, so, well, yeah, the point's still valid. Secondly, this justification of childhood depression being rather hard to treat is shaky at best. I'm sorry you feel the need to justify your mental health and even elevate it in a sense by going into why it may be harder to treat for you than some others. I am genuinely sorry that the internet has put you into a position where you have to fight to justify your own mental health situation. With that said, this is still a bit of a weird claim to make. You didn't provide any sources in the description for this claim, one of which should have been a link to that video you cited, and while I only had a quick look around the internet for supporting evidence, I'm not a doctor and I can't really comment on how true or false this is. As the person making the claim, you have a responsibility to back it up. I understand that this video isn't an essay on mental health, but you still need to support what you state as fact. Third, this is the part of the video where I actually have to back Peaches up again for a minute because y'all keep putting me in that position. Stating that one of the symptoms of the medication that she is on can be suicidal thoughts is not stigmatizing medication. I've said this multiple times already and I'll say it again. You are all goddamn reaching for the worst possible conclusions. Peaches is saying here that this is a possible side effect, which it is. She says it's one of many side effects, which it is, and if we're using some common sense, the reason she's talking about it here is to suggest that she unfortunately also experienced a side effect, which, giving her the benefit of the doubt, she very well could have. The fact I've seen big and small YouTubers saying that this is stigmatization of medication is fucking bonkers to me. When taking medication, it's important to know the risk that can come with it because there are risks, and while they're not common or likely or should dissuade you from getting the help you need, pointing those risks out is not stigmatizing anything, and to pretend otherwise is fucking negligent. To act as though she is fear-mongering or claiming that her talking about a side effect she may have experienced is somehow demonizing medication is absurd, and you all need to take a deep breath and sit down before you hurt yourselves, myself included.
As mentioned in my apology post where my suicide attempt was only even mentioned due to Luke's video already being published, my attempt on my still lingering feelings of self-destructive behaviour is not due to Omnia, Luke, the comments I got from Thuman's video, which I've since spoken to Thuman and realised that was never her intent, so don't blame her for that. Not even my groomer has the power over me to make me feel that way. I apologise for my tweet. I know it would have worried a few people, and I do deeply apologise for worrying you. However, to be truthful, I can't bring myself to regret it. That tweet did save my life. I was able to actually get help. And now in future, which I pray it doesn't even need to happen again, I know who I can talk to privately, who I can trust, and how to manage those feelings in the future.
Peaches, I hope this is true. The people around you need to be level-headed and they need to be able to tell you when you're wrong, otherwise you'll only end up in situations like this time and time again. If you don't have people like that around you, I suggest branching out and looking for others that might be able to pull you down when you're going off the rails.
I wanted to share how I felt to Luke, with how his betrayal and dragging me into his jar video did upset me. It made me uncomfortable that although my last tweet on the matter was on the 18th of October, where I tried to, again, defend myself against racism allegations that in hindsight I could have just left alone, where I even made an attempt to not even name the people involved so new people were not brought into the drama.
Okay, look, this isn't a very analytical breakdown of this section. I simply wanted to jump in here and say, Peaches, stop. Just all of this? All these tweets on screens, all this justification, all this frenzied emotional lashing out, it needs to stop. You admit here that you could have left the racism thing alone, and yeah, you really should have. We've seen you bring this up in private DMs with Omnia and talk about it on Discord and in these tweets. It's clearly something you're very nervous about, and I understand that being labelled something you don't believe you are and find abhorrent is scary. But bringing it up so much only makes you look suspicious, and to be honest, much of this video doesn't make you look any better. And no, I'm not referring to the Chinese whispers thing. I mostly stand by my thoughts on that. The only correction I would make now is that I wish I had spoken about it in Hotbox's section more than in Kai's. That was an oversight on my part, and I'm sorry for it. A couple of you have had some really interesting discussions about it in my last video's comments, and I appreciate that. I think most of us agree that Kai made an attempt to educate at the very least, and I also think most of us agree that it's not something that Peaches needed to be crucified over. That aside, what I'm actually talking about, Peaches, is your tone, your explanations. Even now, with one of the biggest accusations against your character being your habit of playing victim, well, I can't blame anyone for thinking that this video is just an extension of that. Sure, in some places you're right to call people out for betraying you in an unfair light, but so much of this feels like a, yeah, I'm sorry, but sort of rebuttal, and I can't really fault the dislike to like ratio that this video had. And oof, what a ratio it was.
I spoke out of anxiety, which I should have instead stepped back, collected myself, and DM'd you when I was in a more stable state. I even put at the end of my admittedly poorly worded DMs that I apologise for being badly worded.
I both felt shaken up, which was true, and I didn't want to come off as too strong. I apologise if I did come off as too strong when I DM'd you, Luke, but I assure you my intent was to talk to you and have a discussion about your video, and maybe we could both come to a mutual understanding of each other.
I think I've already covered in detail why I don't think that Peach's DMs with Luke are nearly as bad as he portrayed them in his videos. I don't think I need to cover it again either, nor do I think Peaches needed to apologise for those particular DMs.
After this post, nearly 2 days after I had DM'd Luke privately, he finally responded to me. Already, it was a lot more hostile than I anticipated. He latched onto my mention of him following what I was doing on Twitter to try and link to the Toby drama, where he had already used some tweets already in his first video and my suicide attempt as a way of furthering a narrative about me within the drama. As previously mentioned, and already mentioned to Luke himself, I did misword myself. However, that was just in my DMs with him, made in a heated state.
Yeah, again, I think she's right here. I'm sorry, but Luke looked bad in these DMs to me. And given you're this far in the video, you also know I didn't particularly care for his videos either. Was Peaches handling the situation well? No, not at all. But she was right in saying that it seemed like Luke was representing her in the worst possible way, and I think it would be silly to pretend that it didn't come off like that.
My public statement did not address this at all, as it was just emotional paranoia when I initially DM'd him, and it did not matter whether it was true or false anyway. I also made sure to say both to Luke in DMs and in my community post that he did not do this out of malice, and he himself is not responsible for what his fans did. I wanted to only try and talk to him about the effects his wording and portrayal had on both me and other people who I saw in his comment section. So the fact he begins by accusing me of dragging out drama, purely due to my community statement, did already feel unjustly accusatory considering his claims. His first points were the ones that, if he read my apology post, he would know I agreed with him on my issues with returning to social media when I shouldn't. So for his first part, although worded quite rudely, is a moot point, so I will ignore that. His point on me posting goodbye and then acting like I never did that was untrue, as proven by his own video. I made a tweet specifically saying sorry, and again, at this time, my apology post does address this tweet and what I did wrong here.
Where are the screenshots? I know you have them, Peaches. We all have them at this point. The screenshots of your DMs, the tweets, the comments. Everyone has them, and I know you have access to them as well by just how many public videos are out there that include them. So why on God's green earth do huge chunks of your response video not include any screenshots? I know the conversations and the tweets you're referring to, so I can more or less piece together which ones you're talking about at any given time, but that's because I have suffered through so many of these videos that use them, not because you've showed them here. This is horrendous practice, and you need to show the context of what you're saying when you make claims about what is being said. Luke did this too in his own way. It was originally what pissed me off about his video. It makes you look extremely suspicious. Not including evidence while you're talking about these exchanges when we all know that you can is just poor form, but also really confusing. Why don't you show the evidence that backs your claims here where in other parts of the video you do? Just make it make sense, sis.
His other issue in his video was connecting my attempt directly with the drama, or more specifically, saying it was to hide from criticism. Bearing in mind, the timeline here would make little sense for me to do all that. Then, of all times, content creators are people, and they are allowed to have mental health issues outside of internet drama, as it sadly just happens. He, as he expressed within these DMs to me, does not know me, nor came to ask questions. Therefore, I feel it is inappropriate to comment so boldly on people who have things going on in their personal lives.
I don't dispute that content creators are people and can suffer from mental health issues themselves that are not tied to YouTube drama. Not at all. However, you seem to be implying that your mental health breaks and other behaviors were not at all prompted by the situation you found yourself in, and that's just untrue. From everything we've seen of this situation, it has impacted your mental health, quite understandably so, and you've reacted depending on what sort of backlash you've gotten. To pretend that your breaks and little outbursts were prompted by sources purely outside of the situation is absolutely insulting, and it's also unfair to you. Being impacted by what happens online is normal, and you shouldn't be expected to take it in stride. There's no harm in admitting that it was the drama that pushed you into a bad place. After this, Peaches goes on to talk about Luke's videos and how his behavior seemed to be in bad faith, as he twists her words, reads her in the most uncharitable light, and refuses to accept her criticism of him, so on and so forth. Some of her points are valid, some less so, but overall I don't have much to say that I haven't already said. Still, I will be cutting out a huge part of this video. half because it more or less covered things I've already spoken about when addressing Luke and Hotbox, and half because this video is ungodly long, and a good chunk of this has been covered ad nauseum by others. Of course, there's a link to all the creators in the description, and I will always encourage people to go and see things I have and have not covered to form their own opinions on the matter. Obviously, I can't link you to Peach's video anymore, and I'm sorry about that. I'm hoping she'll re-upload it one day when she's in a better headspace, but who knows. Moving on. We pick up at the Creepshow art section of Peach's video. Let me start this section by pointing out that the title of the video is a little bit ridiculous. Yes, Hotbox also made this complaint, and it was one of the few complaints for his third video I tend to agree with. This might be a nitpick, but so much of this shit is nitpicking everyone into oblivion, so I'm noting it anyway. This video is mostly about Luke, not Creepshow. I understand that a lot of Luke's initial video was based around Creepshow, and Peach's claims should be covering Camilla separately to this video. But even so, the video should probably be titled after Luke or the situation in general, as the Creepshow section begins almost a whole half hour into the video, and just realizing that I've sat through so many hours of this drama makes me feel like I've shaved years off my life.
The claims by Creepshow art. Now, I used to be friends with Shannon, but after one too many times of her doing things on her social media that seemed vindictive, and after I came to her a couple times for it, after the last time when my criticism was ignored, later for her to then make a tweet saying how she will listen to her true friends, while naming somebody who was backing up this vindictive behaviour. It felt like too much. It felt like a slight to me.
Again, my age-old complaint. Where are the screenshots? What vindictive tweets are you talking about? What do you even consider to be vindictive? Where's the evidence of these claims? I understand maybe you're blocked, maybe you can't get them, maybe Creepshow's account is still deleted because some numpty bitch thought it would be a clever idea to dox her. I get that. But you're still making a claim here. So surely you have something to show. Surely a friend can get you the tweets or the replies if you can't use your own account. Surely there is a way you could provide any evidence of this behavior that put you off so much, or even a distinct example. Without it, I just can't trust your word, Peaches.
But I came to her, trying to be honest with her, and it felt too much. So, whether it was right or not, I soft blocked her.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but even if she did do this, and even if it was directed at you, Peaches, how is this any different to the subtweets that you made about Creepshow herself? How is this in any way such a crime that it could justify everything that came after? When will you kids learn that subtweets, by and large, are not crimes? And that they're not worth destroying careers over, yours or theirs? Oh, and still, no screenshots. Cool.
After that, I did get worked up and came to my boyfriend about it, as I looked up to Shannon, and she inspired my channel with how it is today. Something that I still say even after all the drama between us, even after she had publicly stated things about me that weren't true.
Excuse me, what the actual fuck did she publicly state about you that wasn't true? You just make this statement, drop it in front of me like a cat delivering a deceased rodent, and then do nothing to prove it. Playing a clip of you immediately after talking about Creepshow positively on a stream proves absolutely nothing to us. Let me be clear, this is a claim. Saying that she publicly lied about you is one hell of a fucking claim, and you gave us nothing to back it up. Not a damn thing. Not a tweet, not a DM, not a video, not so much as a crusty out of context screenshot that came from years ago of someone saying that Shannon said a nasty word. Nothing. How long shall I toil here? Will this ceaseless spiraling void of lacking evidence ever end? Oh, when shall my beloved husband, evidence, return from the Twitter wars? I think Cthulhu's at the door again.
I later found out she was talking about me. She came to Luke to support him on this video and give permission to use this story against me. So first of all, I want to dispel the rumours that many people got from Shannon's poor wording and what Luke said in his video. Many people took this as me hurting Shannon when she was a small creator and tried to ruin her career before it even started. This can be blatantly proven false with the fact this all happened this year, where she is much bigger than what people believe she was when this all started.
I don't care. Okay, look, others have talked about this. They've talked about the discussion of how large either of their channels were when all this sneaky business was happening behind the scenes, but to be honest with you, at this point, I hardly care. The point that larger creators couldn't push back against Peaches because she was small had been made, so has the point that Peaches was damaging a smaller channel has been put forward in regards to Avrona, and so has every other reverse option of this scenario. Big, small, in between, at this point it's hard to care when no matter which way it is, it can be spun for or against someone. So all I intend to take away from this part of the video is that regardless of what size Creepshow was at the time, Peaches did her dirty by talking smack behind the scenes when the claims she was making were allegedly untrue. In the same vein, I don't care who asked for the collab, I don't care, that's not a point for or against anyone, only the behavior after the video matters to me. Moving on. Quick side note, can you feel me beginning to fatigue?
I never mentioned the views or even cared about the views of the video. This is the first of many times I'm accused of something with no evidence.
To be honest, I'm not sure I've seen any evidence of this either. I'd not given it much thought until now, but yeah. There's no screenshots that I've seen implying she was angry about how the video performed. It's more just an assumption that this is what triggered Peaches to turn on Shannon, not a fact that she was actually upset about the video. If there's any evidence to support the idea that this video upset Peaches because it did not do well, I'd love to see it, but to be frank, I don't think it actually changes much of the actual allegations. Regardless of if Peaches was happy or annoyed about the video, it doesn't change what she's done to Camilla or allegedly done to Creepshow. It's just window dressing of sorts.
Both of us were okay with it. At most, I chose myself, personally, to not do that kind of collaboration again. And the only reason being is due to criticism I got from another creator about it, where they mentioned that my video did affect her channel. Namely, because it was my video on her channel, which people don't subscribe to.
Say it with me, everyone! Where's the evidence? Now, I have seen screenshots that provide context for this claim. Neither Creepshow nor Peaches showed these in their videos. Instead, they came from a friend of Peaches that claims they were sent them privately. For transparency's sake, I wanted to include these screenshots. They're actually from a document put together by friends of Peaches, and I will be linking to it below just like everyone else I speak about. So feel free to take a look at that document if you want to see another perspective. For reference, I'm skipping over the Jaclyn Hill stuff. Much like Peaches, I don't see the point in covering it because that situation is all wrapped up and done. I'll just note that in this part of the video, once again, the evidence isn't shown while she's speaking. Peaches, you need to show the evidence for what you're talking about at any given time.
Toby became friends with me a good while later, and she came to ask me if I could help her with the video on Shannon. Toby had already made tweets towards Shannon before even starting her video, and came to me on the tail end of making it. I refused to join, as I told her I had already expressed my criticisms with Shannon, and to hope that Toby was nice in her video, as I believe Shannon is nice herself. I've been told that one allegation that has been created was that I was a catalyst for the Faults of Creepshow art video. I really mean to stress here that no, Toby was already very well into creating her video, criticizing Shannon, even tweeting about people being scared of her before coming to me. Even though I was fair with Shannon as I was her friend for a time, even if I did criticize her to Toby, just as I am being criticized for my faults, I was also fully within my right to criticize a creator.
Alright, we've spoken about this before, so I'll keep it brief. Is it wrong for Peaches to contribute to a video criticizing Creepshow or anyone else that she's been friendly with? No. As discussed earlier, creators protecting and enabling their friends is a problem in the community. However, again, as is the theme of the day it seems, she shows no evidence of what she said about Creepshow to Toby. She goes on to say that Toby didn't want to be involved and wanted to be kept out of the conversation. That's fine, it still means that she has no supporting evidence. Yet, as I mentioned in the hotbox section, this is as much a point against Peaches as it is against Creepshow and Camilla, who have also opted to keep people private when asked, meaning we can't see the evidence for them either. I do want to stress that if this is something we hold against Peaches, it must also be held against the others who respect the wishes of people who don't want to be involved publicly.
The claims that I tried to defame Shannon and ruin her career is very strange to me. Shannon and I have never been on call together, so the mentioning of her screaming at me was very strange. She never has. Even if what she meant to say was that it was through the tone via text, this still did not happen.
I'm going to stop here for a moment and talk about the yelling accusation being made that I've seen Peaches trying to refute by stating that her and Creepshow never shared an actual call about it. I've been waiting to get to this point because it's fucking dumb. Peaches, sweetheart, describing a conversation as someone screaming at you does not mean it had to be in a call. While not technically accurate, as you can't yell at someone through text, we describe our written conversations together by using normal descriptions of verbal conversations. If you were to type haha and someone described it as laughing, that would still be considered accurate. If someone types in all caps, it's generally considered a form of shouting. So harping on this idea that conversation never could have been described as yelling while in text form is silly. Not to mention that the accusation here is that you lied about what happened. So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to assume not only did you lie about the content of the conversation, but also the form in which it took place. So focusing on the terminology is rendered a completely moot point, and I am sick of seeing it. Alright, this next section will be a little bit long, but I'm going to let it play so I can spare my friends from reading out more screenshots.
Hi, I have a new account due to a lot of shiz, but it's still me. I was just gonna say I saw your latest video. I saw what you said, and I can understand you're upset with us not talking anymore. But you also kind of painted me as a kind of a huge bitch, saying I was ranting and raving about you and how I was spreading private information about you to multiple content creators. I want to try and clear some things up, as I have quite a few people who kind of hate me right now, and I feel like it was either a misunderstanding or miswording. Firstly, I soft-blocked you to be temporary. I was going through a lot of stress, and seeing you going down a road that was going so bitter upset me, and I needed distance. I told you to your face how it made me feel, and how to change for the better. I just personally couldn't watch that go on any longer. I had already said briefly about this in our last DMs before you made that video.
And they also went so far as to remove the video they had previously made about me from their channel.
Second, my Draw Like Creepshow art video wasn't taken down because of you. I have always been open about your strengths and how you made me want to do YouTube before and after this. The Draw Like a YouTuber series as a whole got unlisted and kept in a playlist. Third, I had mentioned how people kept calling me a clone of you and how I want to move on from those roots. That wasn't a fuck you to you. I was more frustrated with being called a clone, and in reality, many people worried I would come to make content like you. However, I have still had hope that you would and can still turn that around. Fourth, no, I have not been spreading private information about you, nor have I been bad-mouthing you to other creators. Toby became a close friend, and she had her own grievances. I rejected going in a video against you, and I rejected giving any DMs for her to go and use. I also kept asking her if she wants to do it to be nice, because as I said, I sing your praises too. The fact that a good chunk of your video was very one-sided and kind of weird retelling of events, and saying I had just been shitting on your name to everyone I see is kind of upsetting. I had subbed to you again, seeing you had come to change, and wanted to talk to you again, to say sorry. Until I sat through all that and I don't know. I had sent you a civil and hopeful message just before all of this too. Sending you your criticism instead of covering it myself, because I have hope for you. Sorry I left, and I'm sorry that I hurt you, but sadly I feel it's probably for the best.
Right, finally, with some screenshots read out. Do I think this absolves Peaches? Not at all, but at least we get to see more context for the conversation.
To me being angry at collaboration views, that I tried to ruin your reputation, with even you or Luke painting me as the larger creator for a portion of it, and stating I had claimed you screamed at me and attacked me, with no proof of any of this.
Now, before Peaches or anyone else says that I'm faking these or something else stupid, I got these from the lady herself, Creepshow, so don't try and say these are fake.
Despite Luke stressing, this must be true, as it is testimony straight from Creepshow art, that's all it is. Testimony.
Yeah, I'm sorry everyone that's upset with Peaches, but she is right here. Now, don't be wrong, circumstantial evidence supporting testimony and everything else that we've touched on so far has come out to support the claims against Peaches. But when she knows that Luke's evidence is just testimony from one person, well, yeah, she's right. When this video was first created, this is all that Luke had, and it was, strictly speaking, not enough to condemn Peaches at all. Do I think that this point will still stand now that everything's come out? No. But for that video at the time, yeah. The reason I bring this up now is because a lot of people didn't even wait for the supporting evidence to come out at the time. The reaction to the community at large was to take this first video at face value and condemn Peaches. That is what concerns me here. This could be used against anyone in the future, people that aren't as snake-like as Peaches. So I'm imploring people to be more critical in the future. Testimony on its own is not evidence. Let's stop pretending otherwise. The fact that it seemed to work out this time because other credible sources came and spoke out doesn't change the risk of claims being taken as evidence by bad faith actors in the future.
The fact that I was ignored and had one of your friends even come to me to tell me how I was rude to you in DMs was upsetting. But I never chose to make that drama because it was just hearsay. Even your friend coming to me saying that you said that I was rude to you in DMs could be complete bullshit for all I know. You know what I mean? It's just hearsay. The fact that your allegations are so damning with no evidence other than one screenshot of 2 unnamed people saying they heard from somebody else that I said something, even admitting that they can't fully remember what was said, is upsetting.
And here we see both Peaches and her accusers doing the exact same thing in the space of like 30 seconds. Peaches claims that a friend of Creepshow came to her in DMs to tell her she was rude. There's no evidence of this again. Then Peaches points out that some of the evidence against her is from 2 unnamed people from a crusty-ass screenshot that tells us absolutely nothing. And yeah, she's right! So not only does she recognize why hearsay isn't evidence, she also goes on to do the exact same thing herself. Great! I love it here.
I hope at some point that we can discuss in DMs at some point where things went wrong here. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back for a part 2. I'm sorry for people who wanted me to do this all in one fell swoop, but considering how much detail and how complex all of this is, I just have to make it in 2 parts. I'm just hoping that things get better at some point soon.
Let's finish it off here as it's, you know, the end and all that. First off, the part 2, I hope it's either short and sweet and a proper apology to Camilla, and if it's not, then it better have so much evidence in there that it blows our collective minds and changes the tide of opinion so strongly that we'll be begging forgiveness for getting it so wrong. Do I think that's going to happen? No. No, I don't. As I stated at the beginning of all of this, Camilla has the strongest case against Peaches. And if I were to be uncharitable in my reading, as so many have been before me, I'd say this is likely the reason as to why Peaches decided to cover her separately. But it could also be that this video is super long and covering Creepshow and Camilla separately makes a bit more sense. Either way, I hope if part 2 ever comes out, it's not as lacking in evidence and acceptance of responsibility as this one was. Of course, now we all know that's not likely to happen, and maybe Peaches will return with that hypothetical 3rd video responding to all of this, but we just don't know. Maybe this imaginary 3rd video will fill all the criteria of what I'm hoping for, but I'm not horribly optimistic. Will I cover said hypothetical video if it comes out? Probably not. Not unless there's some wild shit in there and I can make it a learning experience for you guys. I'm not going to be a drama update channel. I'll just wish Peaches and everyone the best and hope that I don't have to say anything outside of some comments here and there in the future. Lord knows, I don't think we could sit through another 4 hours of this shit. With all of that said, where does that leave Peaches now? Hell, where does it leave us now? Leaves me with a sore throat is where it fucking leaves me. Well, for Peaches, what I see for the future is the removal of yourself from the internet. At least for a time. A long time. Both to recover and rebuild your own mental health and self-image, but also to change and work on yourself. I'm sorry if this comes off a little bit harsh, but you need to go away. And it seems like you have for the most part, but let me still advise you in case you're considering coming back early. You need to stop posting. Step aside and take a deep breath of your own. Right now, people are not going to welcome you back. You have not proven to them that you can or indeed have changed your behavior. All the evidence that is out, solid or simply testimony, points to you being a bad friend and an untrustworthy creator. You need to step away, reevaluate yourself and your actions, and decide what you're going to do from here. My true and honest hope for you is that you'll learn from this. Realize where you were wrong and how you may have hurt people in the way you've often expressed being hurt yourself when they did not deserve it. You have been, in short, a bully. There's no sugarcoating that. You've done genuine harm to people who did not deserve it, and once you realize that, I hope you can then also realize it doesn't need to be that way. That there's no reason to be so defensive about yourself, and that not everyone is out there to get you, and you can be better. I would know. I've been a bully. I've been nasty, irredeemable, and a bitch in my youth, and now I'm here. A stupid mean lord that screams about megalodons in the Mariana Trench. I'm nothing like the person I was a few years ago, and I think you're young enough now that you can do the same. So, leave. And when you come back better. A better creator, a better friend, a better mental state, just better. And if people are willing to open themselves up to the idea of letting you in again, if you've changed, then those people are worth it, and so are you. This message extends to everyone I've spoken about, actually. Those I'm proud of and think did the best they could in a bad situation, and those I'm not so happy with and think caused harm when none needed to be caused. I think everyone here is perfectly capable of growing, and I hope that they do because so many of them have proven to be talented, thoughtful, and funny people. I think I actually want to finish this video out on 2 notes. One from Omnia that I think sums up the state of the art community as of late.
To end this video, I want to say that I'm just very, very disappointed in so many creators that I once looked up to. It honestly feels like the entire art commentary community is in shambles, and that's because it is. It feels like every other month I'm discovering the fact that yet another well-known creator has done some really messed up stuff, and their friends have done nothing but enable them and let their behavior perpetuate. It honestly hurts to see this many creators that I used to watch and admire before I even decided to start my own channel act the way that they are, and I genuinely hope we can find some sort of solution to this growing problem, because quite frankly, it seems to just be getting worse and worse with each passing month. All in all, yet another extremely disappointing video about yet another fellow art commentary channel that I used to look up to and enjoy. First it was Toby, now it's Peaches. God knows who's next, because I frankly wouldn't be surprised if we found out that yet another creator is absolutely terrible behind the scenes. The proof is in the pudding that she herself made, and this is nothing short of a wake-up call from me. Just take this as a lesson that some of the people you trust the most in this niche are the most toxic, disrespectful, and gut-wrenching people when surrounded by the right crowd. Be careful with who you trust out there, because if you're too friendly, you might just find yourself dealing with a hopeless Peaches of your own. I'll catch y'all next time. Bye.
And one from me, your local idiot. We can be wrong, and then we can correct ourselves. We can take the L where needed and learn from it. We don't need to be perfect. We don't need to present ourselves as always the victim or always in the right. So long as we correct ourselves when we're wrong, catch ourselves when we realize we're slipping, and genuinely try not to make monsters of potential friends, we'll be alright. We can be flawed, and that's okay. We can be better. With that, I hope you're all having a bit of a better start to this year than the last one. Take care of yourselves, my guys, and I'm out. Alright, enough of that sappy shit. Don't mind me just readjusting in my closet here. I can only record in my closet, and it's terrible. But yeah, I got some fan art for the first time. That's wild, isn't it? Also, rather painful to think that everyone can draw my avatar way cuter than I can. But seriously, I adore both of these pieces. I've been a huge fan of HLK since, God, I don't even know how long it's been. Years now? So to know that she even knew I existed and felt inclined to draw my dumb face, well, I damn near wept. And just look at the shading on this, the colors, the fact I look cute. Oh my god, some of you are so talented. I am jealous. I am very jealous. I'll be linking to the artist below, so definitely check them out and give some love. Give them all love they may. They definitely deserve it more than I do. Thank you to everyone that watched this video. I know it was a long slug. You could probably feel my sanity draining a bit there. I just wish I had more time. This video is already so stupidly long, but I can already see that there's things I missed or wanted to go deeper into and just couldn't. We only have so many hours in the day, and you can't spend all of them listening to my dumb voice. Also, yeah, I just want to say again that the comments you all left on the last video helped me a lot too. You were all very understanding about the delay in this one's release after I got hit with some personal loss. It means a lot to me. I'll still be happy to chat in the comments beneath this video as well. So if you disagree with anything I had to say, don't hesitate to pipe up. I'm more than happy to have that discussion with people. Who knows? Maybe my dumb ass will get learnt a thing or two. That could be fun. Yeah, with that, I'm out. Take care of yourselves, my guys. Like, seriously, I'm out of this fucking closet. Parents, I'm coming out of the closet for a second time. Isn't it great?